The great wave of magical technology. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426 Turbulence. No one knew that there was an old man hiding in the darkness. The old man was the guy who was originally sitting in the blood pool, the second elder of the Stephen family, and the deputy commander of the Eastern Legion. At this moment, he was looking at the purple demon in the black hexagram with the fiery face. It's almost successful, just a little bit more. At this moment, even the other people in the Stephen family didn't know that the old man was watching his own people being devoured, and he was indifferent. If they knew that the people they followed did not take their lives to heart, I wonder if they would still be as loyal as before. Suddenly, the purple demon sneered like the cry of a night owl, and everyone was terrified. Even those in the Stephen family took out their weapons. The purple demon's evil spirit soared into the sky, and the purple mist rolled around. It was unclear what he looked like, but everyone could sense that he seemed to be laughing hideously, laughing at the people in the Stephen family who overestimated their own abilities. This is a monster that has fought with gods. It has come from legends to the eyes of everyone. This scene is unforgettable for the members of the Stephen family. Boom! Facing the evil spirit of the devil, the black hexagram bloomed with dazzling brilliance, gathering together to cover the purple devil. At the moment, when the black hexagram covered his body, the purple devil showed a look of fear for the first time. He felt that the hexagram was fatal to him. It was cold and gloomy, cold to the bones. The devil shook his body lightly, and suddenly purple light burst out with evil flames. The huge purple hexagram made a shattering sound, and turned into powder with a puff. Damn, how could this happen? The second elder of the Stephen family, who was secretly observing everything, showed an unbelievable expression on his face. He never thought that his long-planned plan would turn out to be wrong. The hexagram that could control the devil did not control the purple devil. In a flash, the blood magic circle collapsed, and everyone present trembled, and then there was a rumbling sound, and the purple air slowly rose into the air. The whole city felt this powerful momentum and oppressive feeling in an instant. This momentum was much stronger than the last time Yunfan went to the land of the dead. You have to know that the Stephen family's residence is not in the corner of the city. The whole city was shrouded in panic. Legion Commander Carl felt this momentum and couldn't help but look in the direction of the momentum with a cold expression on his face. At this time, a black shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. Shadow, what do you think is going on? Carl asked in a deep voice. That momentum came from the direction of the Stephen family. If I'm not mistaken, the Branch family is doing an extremely terrifying experiment behind our backs. This momentum carries endless evil spirits, and it must not be a good thing. Shadow responded. Damn, this momentum is beyond my strength. This happened in the center of Sri Lanka City. As the Legion commander, I can't ignore it. Carl said in a gloomy tone. To be honest, his heart was beating like a drum at this moment. He was really unsure about how to deal with the predicament in front of him. At this moment, a golden sword light suddenly stabbed at the demon. The purple demon was startled and avoided the golden sword light. It soared into the sky, and its right hand quickly enlarged, covering the world, and grabbed the person who emitted the sword light. At this time, the most blazing divine light rushed out of this figure, dazzling people so that they couldn't open their eyes, and swept towards the purple demon. There were endless fighting spirit fluctuations in the sky, flashing brilliantly, making it impossible to look directly at it. No one, including Yunfan, could see it clearly. It was just that the demon's attack was temporarily stopped by that person. After the light disappeared, Yunfan noticed that the person under the light was actually the old man named Bit who he met at the cocktail party some time ago. Dang, dang, crackle. There was a crisp sound of gold colliding not far away. This was the old man Bit fighting with the purple demon, and the powerful momentum made everyone terrified. Who is this old family or person who suddenly appeared? Including the second elder of the Stephen family, everyone had a question in their hearts. Little guy, I didn't expect to see you here. Do you want to tell me what's going on? Bit pointed at the attack and cast his eyes on Yunfan who was standing aside. Senior Bit, I got a letter some time ago. The letter said that the people of the Stephen family were doing some kind of horrible experiment. I came here just to verify whether the record in the letter was true or false. If possible, I would destroy the magic circle, but I didn't expect that the magic circle had been completed. Yunfan took out the letter that Feng had searched from the Sky Magician and handed it to Bit. Bit took the letter, glanced at it roughly, and his face became very ugly. If what was recorded in the letter was true, the people of the Stephen family were already ready to destroy the Eastern Legion. As the old commander of the Eastern Legion was his hard work. Although he entered the Saint level, his feelings for the Eastern Legion did not change. Who is this old guy? His name is Bit. Wait, is it him? Damn, shouldn't this guy have died long ago? The second elder of the Stephen family had many questions in his mind. After guessing the identity of the old man, his face turned pale in an instant, as if his closest person had died. If there was one person in the world he least wanted to see, it was undoubtedly this old man. The people of the Stephen family actually have this plan, Bit said coldly. Yunfan could feel that, although the old man spoke very calmly, his eyes were full of anger. How long are you going to hide? Do you still need me to invite you in person? Come out, Bit suddenly said to the darkness. The second elder of the Stephen family changed his face after he guessed the identity of the old man and saw the letter handed over by Yunfan. He had already backed down and wanted to escape from this place of trouble because he knew that once his plan was exposed, the consequences would be very tragic. Bit stomped his feet suddenly and a powerful shockwave spread out. The second elder of the Stephen family, who was hiding in the dark, emerged from the darkness under the impact of the shockwave. Chapter 427, Disunity. Second uncle. Second elder, please save us quickly. This purple monster is too powerful. Don't you know that your so-called second elder has been observing the development of the situation in the dark? He has been here since the 11th person died. Yunfan said in a very calm tone. Don't talk nonsense there. Second uncle will definitely not do this. The leading guy shouted loudly, as if he didn't believe what Yunfan said was true. However, the second elder of the Stephen family did not say anything, as if he verified what Yunfan said. Second uncle, is what he said true? You were here just now. All the members of the Stephen family present at the moment couldn't help but look at the second elder of the Stephen family. Seeing that the second elder still didn't say anything, all the members of the Stephen family present couldn't help but feel that they were betrayed. They fought hard to be loyal to the second elder, but now the second elder didn't care about their lives. This feeling was undoubtedly a feeling of betrayal. Second elder, why? Why did you do this? Almost all the members of the Stephen family questioned. Why did I do this? I just did it for the honor of the family. If I can control this purple demon, the entire empire will belong to our Stephen family in the future. What if you sacrifice a little for the family? The family will definitely remember you in the future. The second elder said in a high-sounding manner, not feeling ashamed at all for letting his men die. You are simply a demon. We are all so loyal to you, but you actually don't care about our lives. The honor of the family is above everything, don't you know? What a family honor is above everything. You are worthy of being a member of the Stephen family. You can say such words. Yunfan couldn't help but reveal a trace of mocking smile. Since you are so great, why don't you die? For the honor of your Stephen family, isn't it good to test the devil with your own body? Why do you, an outsider, interfere in the affairs of our Stephen family? The second elder looked at Yunfan viciously. If it weren't for this little family's talkativeness, how could these people under his command question him? I didn't expect the Stephen family to be so cruel and unscrupulous to achieve their goals. Bit said slowly. Could it be that the senior is the legendary first commander of the Eastern Legion, Lord Bit? I hope Lord, the commander, will not meddle in other people's business. The second elder Zhang did not think that Bit had reached the saint level, so he did not have much respect for him. I didn't expect that after so many years, there are still people who know an old guy like me. Why do you want to destroy the Eastern Legion that I founded? And you want me to turn a blind eye to it? The corners of Bit's mouth slightly raised, revealing a hint of mockery. Old Legion commander, don't make a mistake. Do you see that purple demon? It's not fully mature yet. Once it's fully mature, it will have the power of the saint rank. By then, not to mention the Eastern Legion, even you will probably be beheaded. The second elder threatened. There was no other way. He didn't dare to directly fight against Bit, because he didn't control the purple demon yet. He had to control the purple demon as soon as possible. Otherwise, once the blood magic array was completely ineffective, he would have no chance to control the purple demon. So he had to stabilize Bit first. Really? I want to see the power of this legendary ancient race. Although Bit's tone was very indifferent, he was always careful to guard against the purple demon, because the purple demon's momentum was getting stronger and stronger. Damn it, if it continues like this, it will be over. Not only will I not be able to control the purple demon, I may also be killed by this old guy. The second elder's face was gloomy and terrible. What should I do? He knew that he couldn't wait to die like this. The second elder's eyes flashed fiercely, and then he took out a purple compass from somewhere. The compass looked very worn out, and there were many strange characters and words engraved on it. The second elder madly circulated the fighting spirit in his body and directly transferred all of it into the purple compass. At the moment the fighting spirit was input, the entire compass burst into purple light, and instantly enveloped the entire space again. This is a magic array disk, which can be used to construct a special magic array. Sakadin said, it looks like this should be the array disk of the blood magic array. The entire space was once again shrouded in purple light. After feeling this powerful fluctuation, the purple demon actually began to become manic. It seemed that there was some kind of power restraining him, and he could not leave the place where he appeared too far away. The other people in the Stephen family looked at the second elder in a complicated way. They were very conflicted in their hearts, and didn't know what to do. They were very scared now, afraid that the so-called second elder of their family would sacrifice them again to fulfill himself. What should we do now? Several people whispered quietly. They no longer trusted the second elder. The best way now is to wait and see. Maybe we don't need to do anything this time. The guy from the Stephen family said uncertainly. If I'm lucky enough to survive this time, I will definitely not follow the second elder. Almost all members of the Stephen family had the same idea in their hearts. Although glory is important, if a person dies, there is nothing left. They should not put their lives in danger for the so-called false reputation. Bit also stopped, and did not take action directly. He wanted to see what other means the so-called second elder of the Stephen family had. At this moment, there was a violent shock in the sky. Everyone was shocked and looked in that direction. I saw a huge black hexagram appeared in the sky again. The black hexagram instantly rotated and flew towards the purple demon again. The moment the black hexagram touched the purple demon began to resist strongly. The violent shock was caused by their collision. The incomparably black hexagram carried an infinite amount of power, and the demon actually swung its giant tail, hitting the black hexagram with a bang. Chapter 428, Failed to Surrender. Boom. The confrontation between the two was too strong. There were bursts of loud noises in the sky. The black hexagram slowly flew towards the purple demon. The roar made everyone feel dizzy. At this moment, the purple demon was really panicked and let out a shrill roar. The black hexagram showed his endless power and squeezed the purple demon bit by bit. The demon began to slowly shrink during the squeezing, and then turned back to its original shape, sometimes big and sometimes small. The demon was struggling hard. Only in this way could it minimize the time of being crushed by the black hexagram. After all, being crushed like that really hurt. While struggling, he also tried to pounce on the second elder of the Stephen family again and again. But the power of the black hexagram formation was too strong, and it couldn't touch the second elder of the Stephen family at all. Time passed by minute, and everyone was watching nervously. The second elder of the Stephen family was no exception. Don't think that he looked relaxed now. Only he could understand the danger. He was just using the array to slightly suppress the purple demon. If he really wanted to make him surrender, he couldn't do it for a while. Struggling again and again, the purple demon was covered with scars, scales were broken, and purple blood was floating. Ugh. For a while, the purple demon made all kinds of weird noises. The purple demon was struggling hard. As a demon, it was extremely arrogant. How could it easily surrender to the human race in front of it? If it was a god, it might be willing to lower its head, but the second elder of the Stephen family was not qualified, because the guy in front of him was only the 8th level, and his strength was far behind his. After a long time, the second elder of the Stephen family frowned. As time passed, he felt that the resistance was getting stronger and stronger. His own fighting spirit was seriously consumed. If he continued like this, he would not be able to maintain the existence of the magic circle. Why are you still struggling? The second elder of the Stephen family looked at the purple demon who was already covered with scars and was seriously injured. He was still crazy now, even crazier than at the beginning. Although the compass only exerted part of its power, because of the damage, it is already very rare. The second elder of the Stephen family gritted his teeth and moved his mind. Suddenly, the black hexagram that originally bound the purple demon rotated faster. Purple demon. The second elder of the Stephen family pointed at the scarred purple demon and said, I rely on the power of the magic array to suppress you. You have no choice now. Submit to me, okay? Roar. The purple demon shouted in hatred, and its body grew larger again. This was the size of its body that could exert its strongest strength. Then it rushed straight to the second elder of the Stephen family. The second elder of the Stephen family threw the compass in his hand upwards, and the compass flew directly from his hand, causing countless changes in the air. Swish, swish. The purple demon seemed to feel the coming of the crisis, and avoided the black light emitted from the compass. Hoo-la la. There was a sound, and the second elder of the Stephen family took out an iron chain from the space ring. The second elder of the Stephen family turned the iron chain in his hand, and saw the iron chain circled in circles. For a time, countless circles covering the sky and the earth enveloped the purple demon. Then, with a tearing sound, the scales and flesh on the purple demon's body were missing a piece. Yunfan looked at the iron chain and the second elder of the Stephen family with some curiosity. The iron chain looked like an ordinary thing, with countless magic runes added on it. He never thought that such a thing would have such a strong harm to the demon. Only the purple demon screamed angrily and would rather be injured than rush over. Although he was just created, the remaining consciousness in the material told him that all of this was the fault of the people in front of him, so he wanted to kill everyone present, and the second elder of the Stephen family had his aura on him. And judging from the situation just now, this old guy in front of him should have a way to deal with him. Yunfan and Bid watched everything indifferently and had no intention of taking action immediately. They also wanted to see how powerful this so-called artificial demon was. The second elder of the Stephen family sneered and waved the magic iron chain in his hand again and again. Since he planned to create a demon, he has designed countless methods to target this demon. In order to control the demon, he even spent a lot of energy to create the iron chain in his hand. This iron chain is made of special holy light materials and can completely restrain this purple demon. The demon is very powerful. If there is no iron chain, he has no way to deal with it. But now that this purple demon has just been created, he feels that everything is under his control. How? The second elder of the Stephen family stood there, swinging the demon suppressing iron chain. Every swing of the iron chain had the power to tear a small mountain apart, and the purple demon's skin and flesh were torn apart. Although my strength is not as strong as yours, I have made full preparations for this day. You should submit obediently, and sign a master-servant contract with me obediently. Swish, swish, snap, snap. The collision between the demon suppressing iron chain that was specially used to restrain the purple demon and the purple demon's flesh, coupled with the blood magic circle that the second elder of the Stephen family had already set up, completely overwhelmed it. Swoosh. When dodging the flying demon suppressing iron chain, the demon suddenly accelerated and appeared in front of the second elder of the Stephen family. This surprised the second elder of the Stephen family, and his face changed drastically. Not good. He couldn't help but flee from the spot. The purple demon shouted excitedly, and every time it leaped, it could teleport to the side of the second elder of the Stephen family, and even carried the iron chain every time to attack the second elder of the Stephen family. Go to hell. The second elder of the Stephen family looked ferocious and crazy. The rumbling formation changed drastically, and the black hexagram in the distance actually rotated again and crushed the purple demon. The purple demon looked at the second elder of the Stephen family viciously and then retreated. Chapter 429 Retribution. All of this happened so fast, like a flash of lightning. Even Yunfan didn't see clearly what was going on. Boom. The black hexagram collided with the earth, forming a large amount of turbulence, as if it was going to swallow everything. Damn it. The second elder of the Stephen family roared, waving his hands wildly. Damn it. He had already felt that the fighting spirit in his body was exhausted, and even the black hexagram had dimmed a lot. Everything seemed to have exceeded his expectations. At this time, the purple demon's body swelled up again. How could it be like this? The second elder of the Stephen family had a ferocious face, his eyes were red, and he was obviously hysterical. This demon is so strong now. If it weren't for you, a bastard, coming to make trouble, I could still make some other preparations. But now because of your arrival, I started the plan ahead of time. The second elder of the Stephen family looked at Yunfan viciously, as if Yunfan was the enemy who killed his father. The second elder of the Stephen family was almost going crazy at this moment. If he could not recapture the purple demon, the result waiting for him might be that he would be devoured by the purple demon. Just when the purple demon rushed towards him again, the second elder of the Stephen family grabbed a member of the Stephen family next to him and pushed the member towards the demon. No. The member of the Stephen family never thought that the second elder of his family would do this. He was now a little crazy. Don't blame me, blame them if you want to blame them. If it weren't for them, I would have prepared some backup plans and wouldn't have let you be my shield. The so-called second elder of the Stephen family said righteously, as if he had done nothing wrong. Yunfan was a little chilled, but old Bit had a blank expression on his face, which might be related to his experience. Someone was shivering in the darkness. As soon as he closed his eyes, he would imagine being devoured by the purple demon. The horrible scene of blood splattering and brains flowing out was like a nightmare, always lingering in his heart and making him unable to extricate himself. It was hard to forget the tragic death of his companions. The sad and beautiful blood color, full of endless despair, appeared in front of him from time to time. After so many years of living together, he died in an instant and was used as a human shield by the second elder they respected the most. Now everyone in the Stephen family is in danger. They can't calm down at all, and they are even more afraid. They don't dare to get close to the second elder now, because they are afraid that their second elder will let them be a shield again. All members of the Stephen family are cautiously on guard. They don't dare to trust anyone anymore. All the people in the Stephen family are anxious and panic, holding their weapons tightly in their hands, as if they want to get a kind of support and reliance. This is a tormenting night. They don't know what to do anymore. The experience is too terrible. Many things, whether true or false, betrayal, they never thought that they would be betrayed by the people they follow. If you just hear about it, no matter how thrilling it is just a story. But if you experience it yourself, it is completely different. Experiencing such a tragic event suddenly is an unimaginable collision of thoughts. Seeing the ruthlessness of the second elder and the purple demon gnawing at the corpse of his companion, how can you not be terrified? Damn it, how could it be like this? If I can't control him, with his hatred for me, I may be killed. The second elder of the Stephen family was angry and shocked. Ah! The second elder of the Stephen family roared angrily, and the roar made the surrounding trees explode. How could this happen? Endless anger and unwillingness. It's all because of you. The second elder of the Stephen family gritted his teeth, hated it so much that he wanted to cramp Yunfan and the others. If it weren't for the sudden appearance of the two guys in front of him, he wouldn't have to activate the formation in advance. If he added a few backup means, I'm afraid he would have subdued this purple demon. Now not only has he not subdued it, but he has also provoked a strong enemy. This purple demon will definitely remember this hatred. At this time, the second elder of the Stephen family had already thought about escaping. He felt that staying here would lead to his death. The plan he had prepared for many years had gone down the drain, and this demon was different from ordinary humans. Their innate starting point was much higher than that of humans. They could not use it when their strength was low, but if they waited until he was familiar with his own power, the consequences would be unimaginable. The blood magic circle that the second elder of the Stephen family had supported again failed. The second elder of the Stephen family now had only one thought in his mind, that is, to leave here. How come the second elder of the Stephen family is ready to escape? Yunfan instantly blocked in front of the second elder. The second elder of the Stephen family looked at Yunfan with a ferocious face. You damn bastard, get out of my way quickly, otherwise I will make you look good. I want to know how you can make me look good. Yunfan said calmly. He was not worried now. According to his intuition, the bit was much stronger than the purple demon in front of him, so he was not worried that the purple demon would escape from this courtyard. The purple demon had come to the second elder. Without the protection of the magic circle, the second elder suddenly paused, standing there, looking at this scene. His body trembled involuntarily, his eyes gradually filled with bloodshot. He could strongly feel his body shouting to himself, letting himself run away with all his strength. Even the second elder had a certain degree of confidence. Before the purple demon's strength reached its peak, with his own speed, he had a great chance of escaping death. As long as everyone who knew his secret died, he could survive, and even make up a lie. He could continue to pursue his ideals, and the family would not punish him, but would reward and comfort him. But all this was based on the premise that he had to escape. Yunfan suddenly appeared in front of him, which undoubtedly cut off his way out. At this moment, the second elder's breathing became more rapid, and he let out a series of meaningless roars. The veins on his forehead bulged, and his body trembled involuntarily. He held the iron chain used to subdue the purple demon in his hand. Then the second elder swung the chain in his hand fiercely towards Yunfan. Chapter 430 Grasp. The iron chain, mixed with endless momentum, instantly smashed down on Yunfan's head. Yunfan had been highly focused from the beginning. He reacted the moment the iron chain hit him, and slashed with the Daoluo sword in his hand. After the close combat, the second elder of the Stephen family actually retreated several steps. When the second elder of the Stephen family retreated, the purple demon had also rushed over, knocked the second elder of the Stephen family to the ground, and then continued to pounce on him. Just like this, the second elder of the Stephen family was torn apart by the purple demon in an instant. At the moment, when the second elder of the Stephen family died, the black hexagram and the blood magic circle that bound the purple demon were completely ineffective. It was just that the demon became unprecedentedly manic. In just a moment, almost all members of the Stephen family were torn apart by the demon. Yunfan and Bit looked more serious than ever. Old man, how sure are you that you can kill this purple demon? Yunfan swallowed his saliva and asked. I don't know either. Bit sighed lightly. We can't wait any longer. He's not perfect yet. Bit said as he rushed forward, injecting his fighting spirit into the long sword in his hand. For a moment, the old man and the purple demon were fighting each other. Yunfan took a deep breath, knowing that he could no longer stand by and watch at this moment. If this demon really escaped, the consequences would be disastrous. Yunfan's eyes were completely filled with bloodshot, and he let out a thunderous roar, and rushed out, and ran straight to where Bit was. Yunfan's speed was so fast, that it caused gusts of wind to whistle, and spread all over the place. Different body trembled. He saw Yunfan, and his expression was unclear, as if he couldn't believe it. This guy, who was about the same age as his grandson, was so powerful. He suddenly laughed, his eyes showing determination, exerting all his strength, and slashed at the purple demon. The power of this sword was so great that it actually penetrated directly into the body of the purple demon. At the same moment, the purple demon, whose body was almost pierced by the sword, and whose body was cut open with purple blood, also heard it. When he looked up, he looked at Yunfan and the other two in disbelief. The purple demon was like being struck by thunder. He was stunned there. These two people could actually hurt me. Demon sealing sword technique, god slaying style. From the sword, displayed by Yunfan, the purple demon felt the breath of death. He had a feeling of facing it directly. If he was hit by this sword, he would most likely die here. This feeling made him unbelievable, but the purple demon still retreated directly. Good boy, demon sealing sword technique. I didn't expect you to be the descendant of the sword god lineage. Bit looked at Yunfan with a completely changed look in his eyes. You know, when he was young, he had met the descendant of the sword god. At that time, he was young and full of vigor. He thought that his talent was unparalleled and did not take anything seriously until he met the descendant of the sword god. The descendant of the sword god defeated him with just one move. After the defeat, he understood the truth that there are always people who are better than you. He followed the descendant of the sword god and learned from him, becoming the registered disciple of the descendant of the sword god. No wonder I felt a familiar breath on him. It turns out that he and the master are from the same lineage. With the addition of Yunfan, the purple demon began to retreat step by step. It seemed that, because he felt that he could not defeat the two enemies in front of him now, the purple demon glared at the two and flew out. After sensing the intention of the purple demon, Yunfan and Bit's faces suddenly changed. If they could not kill the purple demon before it was perfect, the whole continent would be in turmoil after the demon escaped. Yunfan and Bit quickly chased after the purple demon. Master. At this time, Carol, the commander of the Eastern Legion, found Yunfan and Bit running wildly and couldn't help but greet them. The two of them chased the demon while talking. Who is that? I don't have time to talk nonsense with you now. Hurry up and gather my old subordinates. But, no buts, this is not only related to the life and death of our Eastern Legion, but also affects the entire empire and even the continent. Bit said firmly. Okay, master, I'll go right away. After a while, a team of powerful veterans appeared in front of Yunfan and his men. Brothers, I shouldn't have disturbed your lives, but this time the loss of composure is too serious. Those bastards of the Stephen family dared to create a demon in the city. If we can't subdue and kill the demon quickly, the Eastern Legion we have worked so hard to build will be destroyed. Bit said seriously. Yunfan never thought that the Eastern Legion was hidden so deeply. This pair of thousands of people, each of them must reach the 6th level at the lowest strength. No wonder the Emperor of the Empire said in his letter that the situation of the entire Eastern Legion was the most complicated. Damn bastard, how dare you do whatever you want in our territory? After solving this demon, I will make your majesty wipe out the entire Stephen family. One of the 7th level soldiers shouted loudly. I think this matter needs to be considered in the long run. If it weren't for the support of the Stephen family, our Eastern Legion would have been. If we lose the support of the Stephen family, the empire will definitely be in turmoil. You should know that the potential strength of the entire Stephen family is probably not much worse than our Eastern Legion. It should be said that it is even stronger, said another 7th level veteran. It is because there are too many people like you that the Stephen family has developed. Maybe it was the conspiracy of that family history that put our Eastern Legion in trouble. Later, they pretended to be good people, gained our trust, and wanted to seek the command of the Eastern Legion. Okay, now is not the time to talk about this. Now we should find a way to get rid of that purple demon first. Bit said with a very serious expression. Old Legion Commander, just tell us what to do. We can definitely do whatever you say. Yunfan heard a lot from the conversation of these veterans. It sounded like the Stephen family had done a favor to the Eastern Legion. Chapter 431 Old Acquaintance. The demon was escaping frantically and had already fled the city. The soldiers who were guarding the city wanted to stop the purple demon, but they were hit head on by the purple demon and were soon killed and torn apart. A golden crow appeared in the east in the distance, and it was already dawn. Yunfan, Bit and his soldiers were still slowly tracking the purple demon. They were also very angry. The demon was running too fast, and its physique was much stronger than that of ordinary people. It actually ran at least 1,000 miles. Just when everyone surrounded the demon, a group of guys in black suddenly appeared in front of everyone from nowhere. The leading man in black took out a golden ring from his space ring and threw it at the purple demon. Then the ring was hooped on the purple demon. The demon instantly became a dominated doll and stood in front of the men in black. Who are you? Bit looked at these people warily. He felt an aura from the leader that was not weaker than his own. You don't need to care who we are. I've taken a fancy to this purple demon, and now it's mine. The leading black-clothed man said lightly. Yunfan frowned at the black-clothed men and said uncertainly, are you from the Bone Cult? I didn't expect someone to know our identities. The leading black-clothed man looked at Yunfan involuntarily. After seeing Yunfan's face, he couldn't help but be slightly surprised. I didn't expect you to be here, Baron Dante. It seems that you really care about me. Ji Yunfan said in a flat tone. Who asked you to often ruin our bone cult's business? If not. The leading black-clothed man seemed to have thought of something and stopped talking before he finished. If not what? Ji Yunfan asked curiously. The man in black did not answer. Instead, he looked at everyone coldly. We have chosen this demon. If you retreat, I will let you live. Bit weighed the pros and cons and finally exchanged glances with the people around him and said calmly, okay. Old Corps Commander, how can you? The old soldier shouted in dissatisfaction. Let them go. Bit's tone was calm, but people dared not object. This was the temperament he had cultivated for many years. Ordinary people didn't even dare to breathe under this momentum. Ji Yunfan frowned slightly, but did not speak but objected. He made an estimate of the opponent's strength. According to his own analysis, the strength of these black-clothed people was even higher than that of Old Bit. Even if Old Bit was added, if he wanted to wrestle with these black-clothed people, he would have to pay a lot of price. Ji Yunfan himself felt that it was not worth it. As expected of the old Corps Commander, you can take it or leave it. The black-clothed man who led the group glanced at everyone, then turned and left. It seems that these guys are well prepared, otherwise they wouldn't carry the magic collars that suppress the purple demons. Bit said with a complicated expression, looking at the direction where the black-clothed men left. Then Old Legion Commander, why don't you let them go? I don't want to let them go either, but I'm afraid we can't keep them with our strength alone. Old Legion Commander, aren't you exaggerating too much? His former subordinates said in disbelief. I'm not exaggerating. The black-clothed man leading the group is much stronger than me. With the black-clothed men behind us, if we fight them, although we can make the other side pay a heavy price, the chance of winning is basically zero. I don't want you to get into trouble. Let's end this matter here. Little brother, your identity is probably not simple. Who is your master? Bit once again cast his eyes on Ji Yunfan beside him and asked. Ji Yunfan was slightly startled at first, wondering if his identity had been discovered. However, when the other party asked about the identity of his master, Ji Yunfan was slightly stunned. Master? In his situation, he was almost left alone, and he had never properly worshipped anyone as his master. When Bit asked who his master was, Ji Yunfan really didn't know how to answer for a while. Little brother, do you have any concerns? Don't worry, I have a very close relationship with the Sword God lineage. Bit patted his chest and said, I was also a disciple of the Sword God lineage. Sword God lineage? Ji Yunfan seemed to have figured something out. The other party should think that he should be the descendant of the Sword God lineage, because he had just used the demon sealing sword technique. Old sir, I only learned the demon sealing sword technique by chance. I should not be considered a descendant of the Sword God lineage. Since you can learn the demon sealing sword technique, it is not an exaggeration to call you a descendant of the Sword God lineage. While Bit was talking to Ji Yunfan, he led everyone back to Sri Lanka City. When Commander Carroll saw Ji Yunfan next to his master, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. You know, his master has always had a high vision. Apart from having a harmonious relationship with his own children, he has never seen him have such a casual relationship with anyone else. After meeting with Corps Commander Carroll, Ji Yunfan handed the letter he got from the Sky Magician to Corps Commander Carroll. After receiving the letter, Corps Commander Carroll was puzzled at first, and then read it carefully. After reading the letter, his face became very ugly. Many things in it made him unacceptable for a while. I don't know, where did you get this letter? And what is your true identity? It should not be as simple as the president of a chamber of commerce. Corps Commander Carroll asked straight in. I have another name. Maybe you have heard of it. Corps Commander. What? Dante. You are Lord Viscount Dante, the inspector sent by His Majesty to the Eastern Corps. Carroll nodded thoughtfully. He was still mentally prepared for this result, but this time he verified it through Ji Yunfan's words. I encountered a group of soldiers pretending to be from the Chamber of Commerce on the way to Sri Lanka City. After annihilating them, I got this letter from their leader. Ji Yunfan said. The person who could carry this letter must be someone extraordinary. You actually asked that person to get rid of him. Viscount Dante really makes me look at him in a new light. Carl looked Ji Yunfan up and down. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 432 Battle Report. I owe you another favor this time. Carl said seriously. It's all for the Empire. Yunfan responded casually. To be honest, he has been in this world for a while. Apart from having a few close friends, he doesn't really have a sense of belonging to the Empire. Little brother is right. Everything is for the Empire. Carl also said in a popular tone, I wonder what your plans are. I bought a house in Sri Lanka some time ago and plan to live here for a while. Little brother has bought a house in Sri Lanka. Is the house you mentioned in the land of the dead? Carl's expression became a little weird. That's not a good place. I've been to that place to check it out. There are really dirty things in it. If you want to live in Sri Lanka, I can give you a house. Don't bother, Commander. You should have heard about it from Mondo and Rona. I've been to that place and I've solved the problem there. Yunfan said. I didn't expect that the little brother is so capable that he has already solved it. Commander Carl nodded slightly and then said to Bit and Yunfan, Master Viscount Dante, you guys chat first. I'll go deal with other things first. Yunfan and Bit understood what Commander Carl meant. The content of the letter was too shocking. He needed to verify the authenticity of some things first, and he had to eliminate the hidden dangers in the Eastern Legion first. With the help of Yunfan, the remaining factions of the Stephen family in the Eastern Legion were quickly eliminated by Commander Carl. However, the rebellion of the second elder of the Stephen family made the entire Eastern Legion feel insecure. Fortunately, after Commander Carl's actions, the hearts of the people in the Eastern Legion stabilized. Yunfan's identity gradually became known, and Yunfan himself had moved to the courtyard he bought, and renovated the courtyard with his soldiers, and even set up a temporary teleportation array in an inconspicuous place in the courtyard. Yunfan did not have any real job in the Eastern Legion, so after sending out some of the lurking personnel in the Eastern Legion, Yunfan honestly did research in his own courtyard. During this period, as his strength increased, the skeleton warriors that Yunfan had originally created gradually could not keep up with his pace. He had to strengthen these skeleton warriors again, so that they had higher combat effectiveness, before they could fight for him again. What Yunfan did not expect was that these warriors he had refined actually had a high level of wisdom, which surprised Yunfan greatly. Having designed the strengthening plan, he was not in a hurry to start immediately. Yunfan first went through the strengthening plan in his mind and considered all the steps and places that needed attention clearly, and then started to work. My Lord Viscount, the Legion Commander invites you to the meeting room. Just after Yunfan had just completed the upgrade of the skeleton warriors and had not yet experimented with the strength of the upgraded skeleton warriors, Legion Commander Carl sent someone to invite him to the meeting room to discuss matters. Yunfan was somewhat puzzled. He had no real job in the Eastern Legion. If there were any important military operations, it was reasonable that the people in the Eastern Legion would not inform him. Although he was puzzled, Yunfan still decided to go to the meeting room to have a look. Captain Carroll, I wonder what you want to ask me for. After arriving at the meeting room, Yunfan found that many people were waiting in the meeting room, and he couldn't help asking. With Viscount Dante, the situation of our Eastern Legion is not optimistic now. I would like to invite you to serve as the deputy commander of our Eastern Legion. Carroll suddenly said. What? Let me take over as the deputy commander? Commander Carroll, are you mistaken? I'm here only as an inspector, and besides, I don't plan to stay in the Eastern Legion for a long time. Yunfan felt a little incredible. Commander Carroll asked him to come and serve as the deputy commander. I have considered this matter carefully, Carroll said. There are many factions in the Eastern Legion. No matter who I promote to be the deputy Legion commander, people in other factions will not agree. Only you, even if you become the deputy Legion commander, are unlikely to affect other factions. Yunfan understood after hearing this. He became the deputy Legion commander to balance other factions. In fact, he did not have any real power, just an extra title. In fact, you don't have to set up this deputy Legion commander, Yunfan said with some confusion. The existence of this Deputy Legion Commander is not as simple as you think. The Deputy Legion Commander is the backup candidate for the Legion Commander. In theory, if I die, you will take over my position as the Legion Commander, Carol said. Yunfan nodded thoughtfully. This is what people often call checks and balances. No matter who I find in the Legion to be the Deputy Legion Commander, there will be many people who oppose it. After the last incident, you have made great contributions to the Eastern Legion. In addition, you do not belong to any faction, so only you can be the Deputy Legion Commander, so that others can have nothing to say. Legion Commander Carl said helplessly. If possible, he would also like to let his confidant be the Deputy Legion Commander. In this case, I will agree to you for the time being. When there are other candidates, I will give him the position of Deputy Legion Commander. Yunfan thought for a moment and said, to be honest, he hated this kind of intrigue the most. Since you agree, it's great. Legion Commander Carl breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, a soldier suddenly rushed over from outside. Report to the Legion Commander, something happened on the Zibia front. Zibia front? Carl's face became more serious than ever. I don't know where the Yoruba Empire got an army from, and it's reinforcing the troops again. General Mitchell, soldiers, our Eastern Legion is retreating in a steady stream. Mitchell has been killed in the battle. It looks like the battle on the Hibia front has reached a critical point. Legion Commander Carl murmured to himself, who should I send to support us at this time? At this moment, many generals and other figures came together, and they were all ready to discuss the battle situation with Carl. Chapter 433 Recognition. Commander, the situation is tight at the front. I wonder who you are going to send to rescue, and the position of Deputy Commander. I have already chosen the person to rescue, and the position of Deputy Commander is already filled. Who? Everyone immediately turned their eyes to Carl. Viscount Dante. What? Everyone present was boiling with excitement. Commander, you are going to send Viscount Dante to rescue, but he is not an official member of our Eastern Legion. Who said he is not an official member of our Eastern Legion? He is now the Deputy Commander of our Eastern Legion. Carl said expressionlessly. What? How is this possible? The scene was in chaos. They had never expected that Commander Cole would make such a decision. Commander, how could you let an outsider be our Deputy Commander? What do you mean by an outsider? He is the inspector sent by His Majesty. If it weren't for him, our Eastern Corps would have suffered heavy losses. Carl's face was terribly gloomy. Who do you think I should let be the Deputy Commander? You, or you. The people present did not dare to say anything. Although they all wanted to sit in this position very much, they all knew that if they were allowed to sit in this position, others would not be willing. Why don't you say anything? You tell me who is the most suitable to sit in this position, and I will let that person sit in this position. Commander Carl said solemnly. For a moment, everyone didn't know how to answer. After a moment of thinking, everyone realized that, no matter who sat in this position, it was not suitable. Only Yunfan, who did not belong to any faction, and had considerable achievements, was the most suitable to sit in this position compared to others. If everyone has no objection, Viscount Dante will serve as the Deputy Commander of our Eastern Legion. Carol stood up with great joy, clapped his hands, and announced with a smile. In the field, hearing the appointment, many people suddenly became a little gloomy, looking at the young man not far away with complicated eyes. They guessed the beginning, but not the end. No one expected this result. Although they were very unwilling in their hearts, they could only reluctantly agree with this result in the end. Basically, everyone shook their heads with a wry smile on their faces, bowed slightly to Yunfan, and the previous contempt in their voices disappeared completely. Congratulations, Viscount Dante. Yunfan nodded slightly. His eyes slowly swept around the field, and everyone who came into contact with the pair of dark eyes was somewhat embarrassed to dodge. After everyone left, Carol said to Yunfan, it depends on you whether you can suppress them. Master Carol, you really brought me trouble. Yunfan couldn't help but smile bitterly. How is this a troublesome matter? Haven't I given you a lot of power? Carl said half jokingly. To be honest, I really don't want this power. You are putting me on the spot. Yunfan curled his lips and said, I'm afraid that from tomorrow on, I will become a thorn in everyone's side. In fact, this matter is the intention of your majesty. Carl said solemnly. This matter is actually the intention of your majesty? Yunfan was a little surprised. But what exactly does your majesty mean? This is not something I can guess. Carl said with a mysterious smile. Forget it. Let's not talk about this for now. Commander Carl, what do you mean? Let me go to rescue? But I don't have any soldiers. Yunfan said. I can give you some privileges and let you borrow some soldiers from the Eastern Legion. Carl said with a smile. But whether you can keep those soldiers in your hands depends on your ability. Yunfan was slightly stunned. Mr. Legion Commander, you don't mean to let me snatch food from the tiger's mouth, right? Let me borrow soldiers from other people. Bingo, you are right, that's what I mean. Carl looked like a teachable child. If you do this, you will create a lot of enemies for me. Yunfan said sadly. The more capable you are, the more work you will do. I know you will definitely find a way to deal with them. Carl said seriously. I don't have any other way now. After staying here for so many days, you have already realized that our Eastern Legion is not a monolithic entity. So you pushed me out and made me the target. Yunfan said a little unhappy. Don't I have any other way now? Otherwise, you can transfer your direct troops here. Legion Commander Carl said with a hint of meaning. What an old fox. Yunfan couldn't help but curse in his heart. So, Yunfan took the transfer order issued by Carol and went to select soldiers from various troops of the Eastern Legion. Although the generals of each army were very unhappy with the actions of the army commander Carol, they had no legitimate reason to refuse. Soon Yunfan borrowed 5,000 people from various troops to form a new team. Sure enough, he is an old fox. I didn't expect him to do this. Some leaders of other factions said viciously. Although the practice of drawing people from various troops to form a new army has weakened our strength to a certain extent, it also gives us an opportunity. If we can win over the new deputy army commander, since you have this idea, the task of winning over the deputy army commander is left to you. After Yunfan left with these 5,000 troops, the army commander Carol looked into the distance silently, with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Commander, I think your actions this time seem to be a little inappropriate. Aren't you afraid that others will win over the deputy army commander? A black figure suddenly appeared beside Carol. Shadow, what kind of person do you think our deputy commander is? Instead of answering directly, Commander Carl asked. I can't tell. He seems very mysterious. He told us a few things, but we only had a little suspicion about them. But he was able to find strong evidence. The black figure was silent for a moment. So you must not underestimate our deputy commander. From what the master said, our deputy commander is much stronger than me. Carl said faintly, I'm old. The future of the Eastern Army needs to be handed over to these young people. Chapter 434 Gathering Troops. How can such a little guy sit in the position of deputy corps commander? Others are afraid of him, but I'm not. Wait and see how I will give him a blow. Winter has arrived, and the cold wind is howling, bringing heavy snow all over the sky. The soldiers led by Yunfan are freezing their hands and feet. Fortunately, before leaving the city this time, Yunfan asked the soldiers to bring enough thick clothes. Otherwise this cold winter would be a disaster for the soldiers. His eyes casually swept over the soldiers who had been staring at him, and Yunfan turned his head to the group of soldiers opposite and smiled faintly. As a soldier, I hope you can fulfill your duties. Seeing Yunfan looking over, the group of soldiers who were still shouting something quickly closed their mouths, and each of them looked up at the sky and thought, but no one dared to speak nonsense. There are only 5,000 troops in our army. I don't know what the adults are going to do. A soldier next to Yunfan asked. 5,000 troops are enough. Yunfan's words just came out, and the others looked at Yunfan in disbelief. Deputy Corps Commander, are you wrong? We only have 5,000 troops, and the enemy has nearly hundreds of thousands of troops. Unless our soldiers can fight 10 with 1, there is a slight chance of winning. In terms of individual combat capability, our combat effectiveness is weaker than that of the enemy. Don't worry, how can I bring you here without full confidence? If we act according to my plan, even if there are only 1,000 troops, we can defeat the enemy. Many soldiers obviously couldn't believe it, but they couldn't raise objections. Ji Yunfan has studied the combat methods on the mainland. The combat methods on the mainland are roughly the same as those in the Cold Weapon era on Earth. However, due to cultural differences, people on the mainland are very poor at using strategies. Relying on the study of military tactics on Earth, Ji Yunfan has a certain degree of confidence in winning with fewer troops. During these few days, Ji Yunfan was practicing fighting spirit while traveling. After so long of practicing King Didaoki, Ji Yunfan's King Didaoki has reached a very high level, much faster than before. Because the meridians have been expanded and toughened earlier, Ji Yunfan runs according to the running track of King Didaoki and can't feel any obstacles. On this day, the heavy snow continued to ravage the earth. Ji Yunfan and his team also stopped in front of a valley. Ji Yunfan led his 5,000 men and horses to the front line. When they were about to reach a forest on the front line, Ji Yunfan asked all the soldiers to stop. "Sir, that valley should be the place where the enemy lives." When Ji Yunfan walked in front, the waiter pointed to the valley covered with heavy snow and explained to Ji Yunfan respectfully, "Take a deep breath." Ji Yunfan squinted his eyes and looked into the distance, but unfortunately, because of the snow covering the trees and the ground, Ji Yunfan could not see what was in the distance. However, Ji Yunfan quickly released the Shadow Demon. Under the Shadow Demon's investigation, the enemy's strength distribution was nowhere to hide. There are indeed quite a few enemy troops distributed in the valley, but it seems that they are not the main force, only about 10,000 or 20,000 people. But this is good. Ji Yunfan thought for a while and said to the people around him, "Deputy Legion Commander, how do you know so much?" Many people looked at Ji Yunfan with suspicion. You know, Ji Yunfan has been with them all the time, so it is impossible for him to go and inquire. "Everyone, don't worry, I'm very sure." Ji Yunfan smiled slightly. Ji Yunfan ordered everyone to set some traps on the spot and finally selected a team of 100 people from the 5,000 troops as the vanguard, and the others stayed on the spot and were on standby at any time. "We have only one mission today, which is to raid the enemy's food and grass." Ji Yunfan had already considered this. Although the mainland has space rings, it is very convenient to carry food and grass, but there are usually special people responsible for carrying it. As long as they can find the enemy's food and grass and snatch it, they have a great chance of making the enemy afraid to act rashly. Raid the enemy's food and grass? But we don't know who is carrying the food and grass, so how can we raid it? Carrying food and grass is not a big deal, but it is definitely not a big official among the enemy, and it is definitely not an ordinary soldier. So we will raid here and here, Ji Yunfan said, while gesturing on the map. Although the soldiers were puzzled, they didn't say anything, because obedience is their duty. Ji Yunfan led everyone to the place he mentioned. He sent out his shadow demon and carefully observed the surrounding situation. He didn't want to be discovered by the enemy before completing his plan. "Deputy Corps Commander, what should we do?" "Wait a minute, let me take a look at the situation." The soldiers naturally didn't know that Ji Yunfan had already sent out the shadow demon. What else is there to see? Many soldiers muttered in their hearts. Under the prying eyes of the shadow demon, the enemy camp was soon displayed in Ji Yunfan's mind. At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in the eyes of the shadow demon. The figure was a young man in his 20s. From the armor on his body, it seemed that his position was neither high nor low. The man complained very unhappy. "Father is really a fool. He said that he wanted me to come to the battlefield, but he didn't say that he would give me a vanguard officer or something. So why did he let me be the head of the cooks? Dealing with a bunch of cooks all day long really makes me lose face. I don't know how those guys will squeeze me when I go back." "Young master, don't blame grandpa. Grandpa is also for your own good. Don't you want to think about how dangerous the battlefield is? Being a vanguard officer is like putting your head on your belt." A servant next to the young man said, "It's a waste of my talent to let me come here to be the head cook." He turned out to be a second-generation soldier, but he seemed to have a bad temper and was very resistant to the job assigned to him by his father. According to the saying on Earth, this kid came to the battlefield to gild himself. A mysterious magic spell was chanted from Ji Yunfan's mouth, and dozens of shadow demons flew out. Ji Yunfan used his mental power to get in touch with them. Mental network is a magic in the mental system, and it is also what Yunfan has just studied recently. The magic of mental network has no offensive effect. As the name suggests, it only plays a connecting role. When you come to an unfamiliar environment, it can share vision for unknown places. Chapter 435. Lure the enemy deeply. Almost all the soldiers did not expect that the moment Yunfan completed the magic, the distribution of enemy forces in the entire valley appeared in their minds at the same time. Oh my god, I can see everything in the valley. How did you do it, Deputy Legion Commander? How I did it, you don't have to worry about it. Now we are in the dark, and they are in the light. Just remember to follow my orders in a while. If you are discovered in a while, lead the enemy to the trap. Do you understand? Yunfan said in a very calm tone. I understand, don't worry, Deputy Legion Commander. Since knowing that Yunfan has such a mysterious method, these soldiers have been full of confidence. Following Yunfan and his men, they walked slowly and cautiously into the depths of the valley. The feet stepped on the snow, making a creaking sound. Everyone was on guard, holding weapons in their hands, carefully shoveling the snow on the surrounding trees. Be careful. Just as several people were moving forward slowly, Yunfan suddenly found that someone seemed to have discovered them not far away and couldn't help but warn them. A cry of surprise came from a young soldier. As soon as Yunfan's ears caught the cry, he shot straight there like lightning. But when Yunfan stood at the source of the sound, he suddenly found that the soldier who had just screamed had fallen on the snow. Then a burst of crossbows came flying. Yunfan frowned and waved his hand suddenly. A black barrier appeared in front of everyone, blocking the flying arrows directly. Enemy attack. The enemy soldier in charge of patrolling found Yunfan and his team and couldn't help shouting. As the first few enemy soldiers appeared, more enemy soldiers ran out of the barracks. They stared at Yunfan and others with weapons in their hands. A moment later, the young man in charge of transporting food and grass appeared in front of everyone. Seeing this man, Yunfan couldn't help but curl up the corners of his mouth slightly. Who are you to dare to come here and attack my camp? Yunfan didn't say anything. He just took out a magic scroll from his space ring, tore off the seal on the magic scroll, and threw it at the people who were besieging him. Then he ordered others to retreat. After hearing Yunfan's order, the people around Yunfan quickly evacuated in the direction of the trap. When the enemy leader saw Yunfan and his men begin to retreat, he couldn't help but flash a cold light and ordered the people around him, hurry up and gather people with me, and be sure to catch them all back for me. But young master, the master won't let you act privately, a soldier next to the young man said with some embarrassment. What do you mean by acting privately? I can't let him run away with the meat that is delivered to my mouth. Hurry up and gather people for me. The young man glared at the soldier who dissuaded him fiercely. When the war started, the young man's father finally agreed to let him come to the front line, but he only let him be in the logistics and didn't give him the opportunity to lead the troops to fight. He was very unhappy about this, but he had to be bound by his father's majesty. Now he finally had a chance to attack. How could he let it go? Is it because I can't support you anymore? If so, after the war is over, you can go wherever you want. The young man's face was terribly gloomy. The soldier who dissuaded him hesitated for a moment and finally said to the other soldiers around him, equip your weapons and catch those guys in one fell swoop. Looking at the young man who was eager to try, the soldier couldn't help but dissuade him. Leave the task of blocking them to us, young master. You should have a good rest in the barracks and wait for our good news. You are so capable now, right? You dare to order me? Young master, I will personally take action today and catch these guys in one fell swoop. As the young man said this, he led everyone to the direction where Yunfan evacuated. Master, you. Seeing that the young man ignored him, the soldier couldn't help but mutter to himself, I hope nothing will happen. If something happens to the young master, I might really tear my skin off. So Yunfan led his men, provoking the other side with bows and crossbows from time to time, and quickly evacuated. When they saw that the other side couldn't keep up with him, they would slow down. Damn, something seems wrong. These people seem to deliberately slow down so that we can keep up. The soldier who stopped the young man from chasing felt cheated. "Master, something seems wrong. Let's not chase him." "What's wrong? Don't you see how many people they have, and they are running away because they see our army is so brave?" the young man said indifferently. "The other side really only has a few hundred people, while our side has more than 10,000 people. The strength of the enemy and us is very different. It seems reasonable that the other side wants to escape when they see the strength of our army. Everyone, go full speed ahead and catch them all." The enemy's encirclement speed seems to have increased a lot. Yunfan waved his hand, signaling his men not to act rashly for the time being, and slowly spread out to the back. Although they looked a bit defeated on the surface, few of them were really seriously injured. Although many people had already discovered this situation during the pursuit, they all held a fluke mentality. Yunfan raised the Daoluo sword in his hand, and it actually made a metallic tremor, and the blue Dao Qi glow flowed out. The soldiers under Yunfan also used their own weapons to resist, and they were more than capable of retreating. "Increase your strength, and you must shoot them all to death." The leading young man's eyes were blood red, thinking that Yunfan and the others seemed to be provoking him, and he couldn't help but be extremely angry. In his mind, there was only anger, and there was only one thought, that is, to kill Yunfan and the others. Moreover, the speed of the young man increased a lot in an instant, and the distance between him and Yunfan and the others was shortened a lot in an instant. A magic scroll emitted light and smashed towards Yunfan. Yunfan's face became extremely serious. He roared and suddenly raised his right hand holding the Daoluo sword. He slashed at the magic scroll fiercely. With a whoosh, the magic scroll trembled violently, and when the Daoluo sword in Yunfan's hand touched it, the light immediately shattered and was extinguished in an instant. Chapter 436 Beheading. Almost everyone gasped when they saw this scene, and their faces were horrified. When they were about to retreat, Yunfan suddenly pinched his left hand and pointed, and the Daoluo sword in his hand burst into a green light, like a flash of lightning, and appeared directly in front of the young man. In the instant, when he could not dodge or even react, it suddenly pierced through his forehead. A shrill scream came out, and the Dao Qi blade directly penetrated the young man's left ear, bringing a piece of blood, turning in midair, and finally fell on the snow behind. At the same time, the soldier who started to stop the young man flashed and came to the young man's side. He said with a very ugly face, "Young master." At this moment, blood sprayed out from the wound. The young man trembled. My ear, my ear." Demon sealing sword technique. One sword to seal the throat. Yunfan suddenly retreated, which was almost beyond everyone's expectations. Yunfan ran straight in the direction of the young man, as if he wanted to cut the grass and eradicate it. With a click, the soldier who tried to stop the young man stood in front of Yunfan. He opened his eyes wide and looked at the arm that was grabbing his neck. His neck was cut off in an instant. Damn it, how could this happen? It all happened so fast. It only took a few breaths from Yunfan's rush to now. The young man who had just been talking nonsense was killed by him in a flash. This scene made the retreating soldiers gasp, and their eyes widened with unprecedented shock. The soldier who wanted to stop the young man from chasing and killing was completely stunned. He didn't know how to think about the situation in front of him. As the young man's personal bodyguard, he naturally knew the young man's status in the eyes of the general. His breathing became rapid, and he looked at Yunfan in disbelief. The methods of his own general can be said to be very cruel. If the general knew that the young master was dead, he would definitely guess his tragic end. What should we do? At this moment, the other soldiers finally reacted. Although they didn't know the young man's true identity, they could also expect that the young man's identity was unusual. Kill this man. Kill this man quickly. The soldier who tried to dissuade the young man from chasing roared loudly. The young master is the only son of the general. If we can't avenge him, the general will definitely kill all of us. Hearing this man's roar, almost everyone was terrified. At this moment, they took out their strongest killers and whistled long swords straight at Yunfan. Now everyone was extremely ruthless when they attacked, and it seemed that they had become willing to do anything to kill Yunfan suddenly when he couldn't dodge. You know, the general is famous for his iron-blooded and cold-bloodedness in the empire. Anyone who disobeyed his orders was basically killed by him. Yunfan's eyes showed a bloodthirsty light. When these people approached, and their weapons came, he suddenly leaped back, and the Daoluo sword in his hand instantly pulled, resisting the attacks of everyone. A loud earth-shattering sound suddenly came out, and the guys who attacked Ji Yunfan hit the Daoluo sword directly. The Daoluo sword trembled, and what everyone did not expect was that countless cracks appeared in the weapons in the hands of those guys, but they did not collapse and block the Daoluo sword. Then, the magic scroll suddenly approached and hit again. In the roar, the weapons in the hands of those people could not support it and exploded directly, turning into countless fragments and scattering around. Ji Yunfan's figure rushed out from it and hit several people not far away. The guys who were not far from Ji Yunfan changed their faces at this moment. They wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Ji Yunfan was too fast, and the whole person was like lightning, directly beheading those guys on the ground. Ji Yunfan's power is really too strong. Even though these guys were protected by advanced magic armor, they could not stop them. They all collapsed. When the sound of bones breaking came out, Ji Yunfan grabbed one of the guys and used that guy's body as a weapon to throw at the others. Boom boom boom. No. The guy who was used as a weapon by Ji Yunfan. Blood spurted out and despair appeared in his eyes, but no matter how he struggled, he could not break free. At this moment, the other people around were frightened by what they saw. One of them trembled and controlled the long sword in his hand and stabbed Ji Yunfan fiercely. Ji Yunfan raised the corner of his mouth slightly, with a somewhat disdainful smile, and directly rushed towards those people with the Daoluo sword. Until the long sword in the man's hand approached, a sword stabbed him, but an amazing scene appeared. This sword could not penetrate the Daoki protective shield around Ji Yunfan, and it was directly bounced off without even breaking the skin. At the same time, Ji Yunfan roared, and the guy he grabbed as a weapon screamed miserably and died directly. Who are you? How can you be so strong? The guys who were close to Ji Yunfan were frightened by his aura. Ji Yunfan, with red eyes like a ferocious beast, felt his scalp tingling for no reason. When Ji Yunfan rushed towards them, these guys retreated without any hesitation. The guys not far away were shocked by this scene, and their minds were roaring. They looked at everything happening in front of them in disbelief. Fear filled their hearts in an instant. They were very conflicted. On the one hand, they were afraid of the majesty of the general, and on the other hand, they were afraid that Ji Yunfan's strength was too strong. They could not get close to him with their own strength. We must keep him no matter what, even if it takes time to exhaust him. Seeing those guys retreating, Ji Yunfan moved again, and the Daoluo sword in his hand drew an arc in the air and immediately flew over the neck of a 6th level soldier next to him. Until death. The eyes of the 6th level soldier were filled with unprecedented horror and fear. At this moment, everyone began to have doubts in their hearts. Can we really kill this guy in front of us? They were supposed to be the pursuers, but now, they have become the victims. All this is different from the original script. In a short period of time, Ji Yunfan killed 10 people in a row. You have to know that these people are all good fighters in the army. Even if the general personally takes action, it may not be so straightforward and easy. The guy who wanted to sneak attack Ji Yunfan just now was pale at this moment. He tried his best to retreat. His heart was pounding, and his body was shaking. He couldn't imagine that this skinny guy in front of him was so terrifying. Chapter 437 3 Bloody Swords. Ji Yunfan's eyes flashed with ferocity, and he was about to chase after him, but at this moment, he suddenly felt a sense of crisis. At the same time, a voice came at this moment. Deputy Legion Commander, be careful. Ji Yunfan's body suddenly retreated, and at the moment he retreated, a purple long sword about 10 feet long appeared at an extremely fast speed, where he was just now. With a bang, the impact caused by the impact made Ji Yunfan's whole body tremble. He felt a pain, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His body kept retreating a few steps. Ji Yunfan couldn't help but look in the direction where the long sword came from, and saw a majestic middle-aged man in armor standing not far away, staring at the calendar method ferociously. The one who made the move was the legendary general in the enemy army. At this moment, Ji Yunfan felt the opponent's strength, especially the opponent's eyes at this moment, which were even more terrifying than those monsters he encountered. The cruelty contained in the eyes seemed to want to devour him alive, which made Ji Yunfan feel cold in his heart. Who are you? Why did you sneak attack my camp and kill my son? The middle-aged man in armor, the legendary general, stared at Ji Yunfan and asked loudly, why is the aura of this person so terrifying? This kind of aura should not appear on a person, Ji Yunfan thought secretly in his heart. From the attack just now, it can be seen that the opponent is very strong and very fast. This person has practiced some kind of secret. Although he has not yet broken through the saint level, he should not be far away. Although I'm not weak, it is probably impossible to keep this kid here. This kid killed my only son. How can I let him go like this, unless I use my trump card? But, the so-called general was thinking about the solution in his heart. Just now, he had felt the strength of Ji Yunfan in a close combat. He believed that he could suppress Ji Yunfan, but it was impossible to kill him. This kind of person is so young and so powerful. The future must be limitless. Who is this person? It is extremely detrimental to the great cause of our clan. When the general was shocked, he also had a stronger desire to fight. He waved his right hand, and immediately 3 blood-colored long swords appeared in front of him. Damn, this guy can actually control 3 weapons. He is definitely not an ordinary person. Not only is his speed beyond imagination, but the power of each sword is amazing, and that blood-colored long sword is also extraordinary, and the grade is extremely high. Ji Yunfan looked solemnly at the general. Very good, old man. I want to see what kind of person you are, the general. As soon as the words came out, Ji Yunfan tightly grasped the Daoluo sword in his hand. To be honest, the 8th level, the sky level, has also controlled the weapon in his hand, to fly for a short time. Ji Yunfan has tried it before, but for him, the Daoluo sword cannot exert its corresponding strength when it flies, so he has never used it. Ji Yunfan flew up, and the Daoluo sword slashed directly at the 3 blood-colored swords, and the 3 blood-colored swords around the general were like alive, roaring, constantly running along a certain trajectory, and heading straight for Ji Yunfan. Ji Yunfan's breathing was slightly hurried. At this moment, he was thinking in his mind, and he had long forgotten the fear of death. All he had was the impulse to kill the other party. Seeing the 3 blood-colored swords coming, he suddenly pinched his right hand and pointed forward. The Daoluo sword whistled out, instantly turning into a large amount of fighting spirit sword light, and slashed directly at the 3 blood-colored swords. Although this method of controlling weapons is much weaker than directly hacking and killing, it is not completely useless. This method is very flexible. At the same time, Ji Yunfan was surrounded by a small shield of dark element. In an instant, Ji Yunfan's Daoluo sword collided with the 3 blood-colored swords. When the rumbling sound echoed, he and the general were both very fast and fought fiercely. Both of them were at the 8th level of the sky rank, but the general entered the 8th level much earlier than Ji Yunfan. Both of them comprehended the embryonic form of the domain. The general's fighting spirit was deeper than Ji Yunfan, but he was not as good as Ji Yunfan in terms of the quality of fighting spirit and his own strength and defense. The two fought with a loud noise, and they were evenly matched for a while. This scene made the spectators feel relieved. They clenched their fists one by one, and they didn't feel any pain when their nails sank into the flesh. The battle between the two involved many things. If the leader of one side died, the soldiers of the other side would not have a good end. The figure of the overbearing and cold-blooded Ji Yunfan disappeared, replaced by Ji Yunfan, who was now fighting with the enemy with his whole body, like iron and blood. The Daoluo sword and the 3 blood-colored long swords collided continuously, and the sound was deafening. The 3 blood-colored long swords of the general were extremely dim at this moment. At the same time, Ji Yunfan also took the opportunity to kill. The general was actually chopped on his left arm, spurting blood. Then he couldn't dodge in time, and was stabbed directly in the chest by Ji Yunfan's Daoluo sword. With a click, his sternum bone was directly broken. Despite this, a blood-colored long sword flew out of his mouth, and stabbed directly in Ji Yunfan's chest. So cruel. The general never thought that the opponent would use this kind of injury-exchanging fighting method. The King Emperor's fighting spirit and elemental shield were difficult to stop. When the blood flowed, the general began to retreat, but before he could retreat far, Ji Yunfan ignored his injuries and suddenly chased after him. The speed was so fast that it set off a whistle. The general's face was ugly. He never thought that this young man would bring him such a great crisis. At this critical moment, the general gritted his teeth and pointed his finger at his forehead. His whole body was boiling with blood. He roared and pointed at one of the blood-red swords. "Arsehole boy, today it's either you or me." If it were any other time, the general would have stopped fighting, but now that his son was dead, he had to kill the young man in front of him. At this moment, a mouthful of life-blood in his body spurted out, and was instantly greedily swallowed by the blood-red sword. "Destroy." The general roared, and unfolded the secret method. The blood-red sword in front of him suddenly emitted a dim light, and rushed straight to Yunfan. In the blink of an eye, the general's body swallowed a lot of flesh and blood, and drilled into the blood-red sword. This scene was weird, and Yunfan took a breath. At the same time, the general let out a shrill roar. His body trembled, his expression was ferocious, and a large amount of black hair appeared outside his body, turning into a ghost more than 10 feet tall. This is the breath of immortality and destruction. Sakadan's voice suddenly sounded again. Chapter 438 Confrontation. Die. The general's voice was grim. He raised his right hand and pointed at Yunfan fiercely. The blood-colored long sword flew up, carrying endless pressure. "You should die." Yunfan growled, and the Daoluo sword returned to his hand. Immediately, the Dao Ki in his body burst out like a wild horse. "The prototype of the Dao Ki domain?" the general exclaimed with a stronger shock. The general has already mastered the prototype of the domain and clearly knows the difficulty of this prototype of the domain. This is a sign of one foot stepping into the holy level. Amid the roar, the sword light of Yunfan's Daoluo sword directly smashed into the blood sword of the general. The ground shook. The general made a shrill sound, as if he couldn't believe it. His body collapsed instantly, turning into countless black air that spread in all directions and came out. The general's blood spurted out, and his body fell to the ground with a bang. He looked at Yunfan in disbelief and murmured, "The prototype of the domain is more perfect than mine. How is this possible? Impossible, impossible, this is absolutely impossible. I gave up so much to reach this step, and you can actually reach this step. I don't believe it, I don't believe it." The general roared angrily. At this time, the black hair on the general's body became thicker. "Retreat." Yunfan directly gave the order to retreat. Yunfan knew that he had already demonstrated his most powerful strength. Since he couldn't get rid of the general, the next battle would definitely be a hard battle, even if he was lucky enough to kill the general in the end. I'm afraid that under the siege of many soldiers, there is only one way: to die waiting for him. The soldiers under Yunfan were still waiting for Yunfan to show his power. They didn't expect that their legion commander actually gave the order to retreat. The soldiers' task was to obey orders. For Yunfan's orders, they chose to obey unconditionally. "My son absolutely cannot die like this. Chase him." The number of his soldiers was 10 or even 100 times that of the enemy's soldiers. Even if they were filled with people, they could still be buried. The general thought so. The situation of chasing each other continued again. Soon, Yunfan and his men retreated to the place where they set up an ambush. It was because of the general's grief over the loss of his son and his anger that dominated his mind, so he temporarily lost his basic judgment ability and actually followed Yunfan and his men straight in. When they arrived at the ambush site in the valley, Yunfan and his soldiers had already hidden. The warriors hiding in the dark launched the traps they had buried in advance one by one. In an instant, the rocks collapsed, and various magic traps were detonated. The general's men were in chaos in an instant. "Damn it, you bastards actually dared to set up an ambush. If you have the guts, fight me with live ammunition. What kind of skill is it to hold down the wounding like this? Having a crush on someone is not a skill, but you are a skill to bully the weak with more people." Yunfan responded with a sneer. "Besides, young master, I call it war without fear. I can't even tell the situation of the war. What kind of general are you? You might as well go home and farm. All bows and arrows are ready. Beat the drowning dog." Yunfan gave the order. The target that the bows and arrows can attack is very close, but the soldiers under the general are not afraid of death at all, and they rush forward with their weapons raised. Although the general's men suffered heavy losses, they were not afraid of death at all, and they even came through several of them. For a while, the battle between the two armies was chaotic and stalemate. It was very disadvantageous for Yunfan and his men. They had the advantage of time and place, but their number was much less than that of the other side. It was undoubtedly difficult to annihilate a force that was dozens or even hundreds of times their own. Yunfan could not help but frown deeply. To be honest, he really did not expect it to be like this. After several victories in defending the city, he had always idealized the war. He thought that his soldiers could fight 100 with one. Soldiers from both sides were killed and wounded, and the general's men had been killed and wounded for more than 1,000, and Yunfan's men also had dozens of deaths. If it continued like this, there would be only a few soldiers left from both armies. It's not easy for small people to be in the Hall of Elegance. Today, I will catch you all in one net no matter what, the general roared. Since he joined the army to fight, he had not suffered such a big loss, and even his son lost his life. Deputy Corps Commander, the current situation is very unfavorable to us. If it continues like this, I believe it won't be long before our army will be completely wiped out. An officer next to Yunfan said. What do you think we should do now? Just flee like this? Yunfan asked calmly. Do you think they will give us such an opportunity? But Deputy Commander, what do you think we should do? The fighting between the two sides continued, and the number of casualties slowly increased bit by bit, and the soldiers under the command of the general seemed to be fearless of death. Otherwise, Deputy Commander, let's surrender. Yunfan's counselor hesitated for a moment, but still suggested. Do you think he will let us go if we surrender? We have already killed his only son. Yunfan said with a gloomy face. Don't worry, I think we will get help from reinforcement soon. Yunfan said in a very calm tone. How can there be reinforcement to help us? The soldiers beside Yunfan obviously felt that their commander was perfunctory to them, and they muttered in their hearts. It will come. The reinforcement will come soon. Yunfan said with a decisive tone. At this moment, there was a sound of horse hooves coming from afar, and everyone's face changed involuntarily, because the sound was so mighty, as if there were thousands of troops, but no one knew where these troops came from. Deputy Corps Commander, could it be that their reinforcement have increased? A soldier next to Yunfan said tremblingly. Could it be that our soldiers are coming to support us? Yunfan asked back. How is it possible? The entire battle line is now in a stalemate, and no one has time to take care of us. A soldier next to Yunfan obviously didn't believe it. In fact, there is one thing you have never known, that is, when we just left, Corps Commander Kaya had already taken his troops out of the city. What? How is this possible? The soldier next to Yunfan exclaimed in disbelief. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439 Reinforcement. Nothing is impossible. In fact, the reason why Yunfan decided on this raid plan was because he had discovered the large army following their 5,000 troops. No one told him that Karl had left the city, but Yunfan's strength had indeed increased a lot, and the range of the shadow demon's departure from the body was getting farther and farther. So when the army commander Karl and his men left the city, he had already discovered this situation. Just when both sides were in a panic, Karl appeared in front of everyone with his army. The so-called general's face changed instantly after seeing Karl. Karl, how could you appear here? Why can't I appear here, Lancap? Since you are here, I don't need to look for you anymore. Not bad, Kit. I didn't expect you to dare to sneak attack them. Karl looked at Yunfan with some appreciation and said, if it weren't for the army commander who arrived in time, I'm afraid it wouldn't be long before I went to see the gods. Yunfan said with a bitter smile. Impossible. Although I don't know you very well, you would never attack the camp if you were not absolutely sure of escaping. To be honest, I'm getting more and more curious about you. You don't seem to be surprised at my appearance, as if you had expected it long ago. Commander Karl asked puzzledly. Doesn't everyone have some little secrets? Even Commander Karl, I think you must have your own secrets, right? Yunfan said with a smile and a very calm tone. You are right, everyone has their own secrets, and naturally I'm no exception. Karl said lightly. Karl, do you think you have defeated me? The general saw Carl and Yunfan chatting to themselves, and he couldn't help but feel angry. Yes, Lanka, you were not my opponent 10 years ago, and you will definitely not be my opponent 10 years later. Carl said calmly, as if he was narrating something that was very ordinary. Carol, you are too self-righteous. Although I lost to you 10 years ago, you are definitely not my opponent 10 years later, because you don't know what I have been through in the past 10 years. General Lanka put his hands behind his back and didn't seem to take Carol seriously at all. In that case, let's fight it out. Legion Commander Carol said calmly, while taking out his weapon. In fact, we didn't have any hatred at the beginning, but you were too cruel. Do you mean you are going to fight me in a one-on-one duel? General Lanka raised his head and showed a sneer. You are still as conceited as before. Then General Lanka took 2 steps forward with the blood-red sword. Legion Commander Carol's face suddenly became gloomy, and he held his weapon tightly and also took 3 steps forward. Yunfan was about to step forward when he was stopped by the Legion Commander Carl. Then he faced everyone and said seriously, this is a personal grudge between me and Lanka. I hope the Deputy Legion Commander will not intervene. A huge fire dragon and a huge water dragon appeared out of thin air. The water and fire fighting power driven by the holy power contained a terrible power of destruction and rushed directly to the General Lanka in the distance. Once they entered the semi-saint stage, both mages and warriors had undergone essential changes and had begun to master the origin of everything. General Lanka was immediately shocked. He never thought that Cole would think of using the power of 2 completely different attributes to burst out with powerful strength. As soon as he saw the water and fire, he began to avoid and flee, but how could the speed of Lanka's escape compare with the speed of water and fire? The power of water and fire instantly entangled General Lanka, hindering his actions. I didn't expect you to comprehend the water and fire domains, 2 completely different attribute powers, which are much stronger than other domain powers of a single attribute. One cold, one hot, 2 different attribute powers intertwined in an instant, and the skin of General Lanka began to tear, revealing the red flesh inside. Damn it, you bastard, do you know what you are doing? General Lanka roared, you are putting yourself into an endless abyss, do you know? Yunfan never thought that the Legion Commander Carol would use 2 completely different attribute powers. You must know that comprehending 2 different attributes at the same time, or even opposing powers, is a taboo in cultivation. If you are not careful, you may explode. Not dead yet. Legion Commander Carol's eyes turned cold. The water and fire attribute powers that originally entangled General Lanka loosened in an instant and changed rapidly, turning into a huge blue and red king. You are a fucking lunatic, and a lunatic can't be so crazy. General Lanka roared loudly, and General Lanka was in the center of the net. No matter how he struggled to escape, he could not get out of the net. The prototype of the water and fire domain. Water and fire intertwined. The Legion Commander urged with his mind, and the 2 different attributes of water and fire began to rotate slowly, as if 2 terrible millstones were slowly rotating and crushing something. Before, the Legion Commander only unconsciously triggered the power of the domain, and the power was so great. Now the Legion Commander used the water and fire that he could control in the prototype of his own life domain as a basis to trigger the power, which soared more than 10 times. With the rotation of the 2 different energies of water and fire, the General Lanka in the center only felt one cold and one hot, which was even more uncomfortable than before. He felt that this body was no longer his. At the same time, water and fire intersected, and a vacuum appeared out of thin air. The void with a strong strangling power directly descended on the General Lanka. It's so powerful. Yunfan was also surprised in his heart. The fruit field created by controlling the power of water and fire as the foundation can directly suppress a master with similar strength to him, and even make it unable to resist. This kid is just looking for death, do you know? Sakadin's voice suddenly sounded in Yunfan's mind, with a hint of disdain in his tone. How can the 2 completely different element of water and fire exist together? I have survived in the continent of gods for thousands of years, and I have never heard of anyone who can master 2 completely opposite element at the same time to form a field. I saw that the great General Lanka's eyes were full of blood, the black air around his body became thicker, and his whole body began to slowly swell. Chapter 440 Swallowing the Sky. I didn't expect this guy to be from the Destruction clan. The aura of destruction on General Lanca's body became stronger and stronger, and the whole world seemed to be plunged into blood all of a sudden. The blood domain embryonic form devours the sky. The moment the blood domain embryonic form was formed, the water and fire domain was pushed out. The two domain embryonic forms seemed to be evenly matched. The momentum conveyed from the blood domain embryonic form, General Lanca's bones revealed a murderous and decisive aura. Yunfan seemed to see Lanca again. He was completely different now than at the beginning. The general had betrayed the human race and became a member of the Destruction clan. He was powerful and oppressive, and the force penetrated deep into the bone marrow, giving the Legion commander Carol a sense of foreboding. And now the voice of the blood domain embryonic form actually had a faint aura of saint. It can be seen that in the near future, if this guy does not die, a master of the saint level will soon be born. Lanca, you actually chose to become a destroyer. Legion Commander Carol stopped, did not take a step forward, but said coldly to the blood domain embryonic form, "Humble human, destruction is eternity." The voice of General Lanca sounded again. Suddenly, in the embryonic form of the domain, 20 blood-colored long rainbows penetrated from north to south. Auspicious air descended one after another, and blood rain was colorful. Then Lanca walked over step by step with black air surrounding him. Destruction is eternity. Nonsense. Yunfan muttered in his heart, but he was unwilling to relax at all. He was carefully on guard. The Destruction clan was not easy to deal with. The Legion commander Carl stood there without moving, and seemed not to take the general who had become a Destruction clan seriously. Legion Commander Carl, come to our empire. My lord will grant you eternal life, and make you immortal. The black aura around General Lanca became thicker and thicker, and gradually spread to the people around him. His men were all sucked of their spirits in this black mist and blood, and eventually turned into mummies like skeletons. The spirit and energy were absorbed by the blue card of the general. His aura became stronger and stronger. As his aura became stronger and stronger, the black aura of destruction spread faster and faster, and in an instant it spread to the soldiers under Yunfan. Everyone was in panic for a while. Yunfan naturally couldn't stand by and watch. He instantly showed his own domain prototype. The prototype of Yunfan's domain was much more advanced than that of the general and the Legion commander. Yunfan's domain prototype directly suppressed the two people's domain prototypes. Amid the roar, the prototype of Yunfan's domain, directly under Yunfan's control, spread towards the general's domain, and finally collided with the general's body. The ground shook, and the general made a shrill sound, and his body collapsed instantly, turning into countless black air, and spreading in all directions, and then the dying general was revealed. The general spurted blood, and his body fell to the ground with a bang. He looked at Yunfan's domain prototype bitterly and murmured, "How can there be such a high-level domain prototype in this world?" After saying that, he struggled to look at Yunfan. His body stopped moving, and he died. He had already hurt his roots by performing the secret method before, and once again forcibly using the power of the domain prototype made her body a little overwhelmed. He looked like a destroyer, but he had not yet completely completed the transformation. Such a large amount of destruction would cause great damage to his body. Now the spirit he borrowed from his men has all been turned into nothingness by Yunfan's domain prototype. How could he continue to live? Until his death, General Lanca opened his eyes and looked at Yunfan. He died with his eyes open. Seeing the death of General Lanca, Yunfan's body relaxed all of a sudden. He consumed too much power in his body, so that his head was dizzy, like a deflated ball, standing there with a shaky body. His face was pale, because of the serious consumption of energy in his body. Yunfan, although his own combat power was very amazing, had just reached the 8th level. This almost consumed all the strength in his body. Recalling the scenes just now, Yunfan felt a sweetness in his mouth, and blood flowed out again. Fortunately, my domain power is not weak, and it can restrain his power faintly, otherwise he will be sucked into a dry corpse. Yunfan felt pain all over his body, especially in his chest, which was extremely painful. The fierce fight just now was too fierce, and he might lose his life if he was not careful, so he was highly alert and temporarily forgot the pain. Now the biggest crisis has been resolved. The slight pain reminded Ji Yunfan of the previous battle, and he couldn't help but feel a little scared. There is another guy from the Destruction clan. Thank you, little brother. I didn't expect your domain to be so powerful. If it weren't for your domain suppressing his domain, I'm afraid if he absorbs more blood and energy, my old bones will be explained here. Commander Carl said to Ji Yunfan solemnly, and at the same time he was very curious in his heart. Ji Yunfan, what kind of power is used, and what kind of domain is condensed? That kind of domain power could actually suppress his water and fire domain power. According to his original idea, the domain constructed by two completely contradictory forces is definitely not comparable to that of an ordinary single power domain. What domain does the domain of this young man in front of him belong to? Time? Space? Or those unknown existences in the legend? Although he was very curious, he did not ask, because he knew that, even if he asked Ji Yunfan, he would definitely not tell him. Ji Yunfan breathed a long sigh of relief. I should thank the Legion Commander. If it weren't for the Legion Commander to come to support, my people would probably be completely annihilated. We are family, so we should come to support you, right? Legion Commander Cal nodded and said calmly, I think it's not the time for the Legion Commander to reminisce about the past. We should get rid of them quickly to avoid more trouble. Ji Yunfan glanced at the enemy's already confused soldiers and said, you're right. Someone pass on my order, the whole army will attack. Seeing that Carol had already issued the order for the whole army to attack, Ji Yunfan also issued the order to his soldiers to attack. As the saying goes, a defeat is like a mountain collapsing. The enemy's general had already surrendered, and the remaining soldiers were, like they had lost their backbone, and they were in a state of panic all day long. Chapter 441 Dungeon. One army was surging with momentum, while the other army was in a panic. The result can be imagined. After a while, the enemy army was killed or wounded, and some surrendered. Carol and Ji Yunfan achieved a staged victory. Mr. Deputy Commander Dante, what do you think we should do next? Carol asked Ji Yunfan in a very calm tone. The sudden question of Carol surprised Ji Yunfan slightly. The identity of this blue card should not be simple, right? One of the four generals of the Ouroboros Empire, this time the attack on my eastern army, was led by him. In this case, then we will pursue the victory. The commander was killed, and the army of the Ouroboros Empire must be in chaos. Take this opportunity to catch them all in one fell swoop. Ji Yunfan said directly. Yes, your idea coincides with mine. Carol smiled and nodded. Under the leadership of Ji Yunfan and Carol, the Eastern Army quickly won the victory and drove the soldiers of the Ouroboros Empire back. When the soldiers of the Ouroboros Empire were driven back, Ji Yunfan and his team got some news from the captured soldiers of the Ouroboros Empire about their attack on the Eastern Legion. It turned out that there was a passage leading to the underground where they were fighting. The Ouroboros Empire came because of the things in this underground passage, but the level of the captured soldiers was very low, and it was impossible to get accurate information from them. Ji Yunfan and Carol were both very interested in this underground passage, so they decided to take 100 men into the passage to find out what secrets were in this underground passage. Not long after Ji Yunfan and his team went down to the underground passage, they found that the entire space seemed to be much wider at once. This underground space was a very special space. What Ji Yunfan and his team did not expect was that this underground space actually had many lives of other races. Just like the Dark Elves who betrayed the goddess of elves in the legend, there was a very powerful tribe. Ji Yunfan became more and more curious about what secrets existed in this underground space. Ji Yunfan and Carol brought their hundreds of men to an underground city. Everyone was very curious about the underground city. This underground city was controlled by a dark elf. Dark elves have always been a symbol of rebellion and darkness on the mainland, so there has been a saying on the mainland, don't trust dark elves at any time, otherwise you will be sold by them, and you don't know what's going on. There are also humans in the underground city, but the status of humans in the entire underground city is not high. They are bought and sold as slaves of other races at will. Ji Yunfan saw the status of humans in the underground city and couldn't help but feel a little angry. After seeing the status of humans, the soldiers under Ji Yunfan and Carol wanted to kill all the races that oppressed humans. Fortunately, Ji Yunfan and Carol were still rational. Without figuring out the situation, they stopped the soldiers under their command. The arrival of Yunfan and his companions made the other races living in the underground city feel very fresh, and most of them did not have good intentions. Humans have always had a very low status in the underground city. Many people have regarded Yunfan and his companions as slaves, and these slaves have no masters. If anyone can catch Yunfan and his companions, they will definitely be able to sell them for a good price. At this time, a dark elf came from nowhere. The dark elf looked very noble. No matter where he went, other people would make way for him. When they looked at the beautiful dark elf, their eyes were full of fear. After this beautiful dark elf came from a distance, he looked at Yunfan and Carl around him in surprise. It seemed that he felt the extraordinariness of Yunfan and his companions, and he could not help but frown slightly, and then smiled and said, "So it's our brave human friends. I wonder which city in the underground city you are from?" Yunfan and his companions knew almost nothing about the entire underground space, and they did not know how to answer the other party's questions. After seeing Yunfan and his group's performance, the beautiful dark elf couldn't help but become active. From the expressions of these people, they are very confused. Don't they know which underground city they come from? No, looking at their dress, they don't look like humans in the underground city at all. Could it be that these humans are from the ground? When the beautiful dark elf thought that Yunfan and his group were from the ground, a strange light appeared in her eyes. "Dear human friends, are you from the ground?" Yunfan and Carl looked at each other slightly. Carl smiled slightly, nodded and said, "Yes, beautiful dark elf, we are from the ground. This is our first time to come to the underground world." After getting Carl's affirmative answer, the very beautiful dark elf showed excitement on her face. Yunfan saw the other party's expression and couldn't help but frown slightly because he felt a breath of ulterior motives from the other party. This is a very strange feeling, similar to the sixth sense that people often talk about. When he was on Earth, Yunfan relied on the sixth sense to escape many crises. At this time, Carl also felt that the other party was unusual. As the commander of a legion, Carl had extraordinary knowledge and naturally understood that these evil dark elves were not good people, but he still smiled slightly. The beautiful dark elf also smiled slightly. "To be honest, I envy the creatures on your surface. You can rest assured that we have no hatred with them who live on the ground. Every once in a while, we also have creatures going to the world on the ground. I have heard about the incomparable bravery of the humans on your ground. Now it looks really good." After the beautiful dark elf said this, Yunfan and the others were also silent for a while because they couldn't feel whether what the dark elf said was true or false. The reputation of the dark elves on the mainland has always been not very good. Yunfan secretly thought about how to deal with it. He now has no idea how many dark elves there are, let alone how strong the dark elves are. Therefore, he secretly thought in his heart that he couldn't fall out with these dark elves for the time being. The dark elf didn't have a specific understanding of Yunfan and his strength, so he was ready to test it again through words. Chapter 442 Underground World. From Earth to the mainland, Yunfan has always believed in a saying that one should not have the intention to harm others, but one must be on guard against others. Since the reputation of the dark elves on the mainland is so bad, it is definitely not just a casual remark. "My incredible visitor on the ground, my friend, our dungeon is facing an attack from an 8th level peak dragon. If you are willing to lend a hand, we will definitely reward you handsomely. If you can kill this dragon, everything on it will belong to you." At this time, the dark elf looked at Yunfan and the others standing there in silence and suddenly spoke. Yunfan was stunned. He did not expect that this dungeon was facing an attack from a dragon. As a branch of the dragon, the flying dragon is much stronger than ordinary monsters of the same ending. He never thought that the flying dragon actually existed in the dungeon, and the dungeon in front of him was under attack by a flying dragon. It was indeed very unlucky. Yunfan and Carl frowned. They thought about it. Could it be that the strength of the dungeon was not enough to solve the problem of the flying dragon? It's really hard to say, but they still think the dark elf's proposal is somewhat tempting. Although Felang is very powerful, with his own strength and Carl's strength, there should be a chance to kill him. But will the dark elf give all the benefits to himself and others? Every dragon has a trembling treasure, so the benefits obtained after killing a dragon are irresistible to everyone. Although feline only belongs to the branch of the dragon family, the habit of collecting treasure should not change. Yunfan and Carl looked at each other. Yunfan directly used mental power to communicate with Carl. Mr. Legion Commander, what do you think of this proposal? Although this proposal is very tempting, according to the habits of the Dark Elves, it is impossible to be as simple as we imagined. How about we take a look at the strength of this flying dragon first, and then make plans? Your idea is exactly what I think. Let's take a look at the strength of that flying dragon first. If we can deal with that flying dragon, we will agree to your proposal. Carl said. I can guarantee that with the help of you friends from the ground, the flying dragon will definitely die. My name is Andy, welcome to fight side by side with us. The Dark Elf said happily, and then instructed the Dark Elf behind him. The Dark Elves behind the beautiful Dark Elf, after receiving Andy's order, left directly in the direction they came from, as if they wanted to arrange something. Following behind the beautiful Dark Elf, Yunfan and Carl used mental power to communicate. If there is anything wrong, we must take the opportunity to withdraw. Even if these Dark Elves have some effective backup, as long as there is no holy level, there should not be too much of a problem. I hope so. Andy finally stayed to greet himself and others. Yunfan thought there should be no danger, so he nodded to Carl. The hundreds of soldiers led by Yunfan and Carl slowly followed behind them, and each of them looked at the entire underground world with great curiosity, or to be more precise, the underground city. I didn't expect that there really is an underground city in this world, but the status of humans in this underground city is so low. The further they went, the wider the road became. Some white stones grew deeper, emitting a faint light, making the underground city not seem dark. The group walked towards the center of the underground city for a long time. Yunfan saw all kinds of intricate roads in the underground city, leading to all directions. There were similarities and differences with the city on the ground. At this time, Yunfan focused his attention, paid attention to the surroundings, and memorized the road he had come from in his heart to prevent him from not being able to find the way back when he came back. At the same time, he also released his shadow demon. What Yunfan didn't expect was that the entire underground city seemed to be shrouded in a large formation, and his shadow demon couldn't leave him too far away. This made Yunfan involuntarily more vigilant. What's wrong, Deputy Commander Dante? Are you feeling unwell? Carl saw Yunfan frown slightly, and couldn't help asking. No, I'm fine. Yunfan responded calmly. Under the guidance of the Dark Elves, Yunfan and his companions quickly crossed the city. Many people showed greedy expressions when they saw Yunfan and his companions being led by the Dark Elves, but then they immediately became cautious and fled far away, as if they would be unlucky if they spoke to them. The expressions of other races here are very strange. It seems that the Dark Elves leading us are definitely not as simple as they seem. Water comes and earth covers the soldiers. Even if we encounter the saint rank, with our strength, there shouldn't be any major problems. It should still be possible to escape if we can't win, Carl said. When he started to walk flat, Yunfan looked up and found that the white glowing stones hanging high above were also those which looked very beautiful like the stars on the ground. At a glance, except that the sky above was covered by white stones, the scenery on all sides was not much different from the world on the ground, but it was not as cold as the winter above. The world below seemed to be warmer. What you see is called sunstone. The whole underground city is made of sunstone, so it doesn't look dark. There are also some races living in the underground world. In addition to us Dark Elves, there are also some races such as goblins, lizardmen, werewolves, vampires, and even many races that are not on the surface. In addition, there are super monsters like flying dragons with amazing destructive power. Overall, the strength of the underground city is much stronger than that of the ground. However, although there are some differences between the underground world and the ground world, the overall difference is not very large. Andy saw Yunfan and Carl looking around curiously, and smiled and explained. A pair of charming eyes looked at Yunfan, and others with affection. If you want to use a word to describe that look, it is soul-stirring. Dark elves are dark by nature, and female elves are even more evil. Legend has it that they suck the lives of the opposite sex to practice. And his identity among the Dark Elves is not ordinary. He can have a high status among the Dark Elves. He is definitely a ruthless existence. Yunfan understood the meaning of that look at just one glance. Chapter 443, Flying Dragon Disaster. Does this sunstone have other uses? I'm not sure about that. Maybe it does, maybe not. Andy smiled charmingly. Why did that flying dragon attack your underground city? Where did it live originally? Yunfan didn't care about Andy's gaze and asked with a frown. We didn't have any disputes with this flying dragon, but the neighboring greedy wolf underground city used some means to bribe this flying dragon to attack us. Because recently, our underground city was competing with the greedy wolf underground city for a mine, and several battles took place in the middle. After the defeat of the greedy wolf underground city, I don't know where to find this flying dragon. Hearing Yunfan mention the business, Andy looked a little sad inside, but he didn't know how much truth and falsehood he said. Greedy wolf underground city? It seems that there are many underground cities in the underground world. Yunfan said to himself. Indeed, there are 5 dungeons in the entire underground world. The dark dungeon controlled by our dark elves, the bloodthirsty dungeon controlled by the vampire clan, the greedy wolf dungeon controlled by the werewolf clan, the crazy python dungeon controlled by the wild clan, and the most mysterious dungeon of destruction. Destruction dungeon. Hearing this name, Yunfan's heart jumped for no reason. Yunfan never had a good feeling about anything related to the word destruction. Is there any connection between this dungeon and the destruction group? If this is really the case, then things will be troublesome. Why is the destruction dungeon the most mysterious? Because no one knows who the owner of the destruction dungeon is, and among the 5 dungeons, the destruction dungeon has the strongest strength. It is said that this destruction dungeon can destroy all the dungeons in the entire underground world at the same time. Andy took a deep breath and explained, and the people living in the destruction dungeon are all rebels from various dungeons. I didn't expect this destruction dungeon to be so powerful. Yunfan and Cole were both shocked. It is said that there are demigods in the destruction dungeon, and there are more than one saint. This. Yunfan and Carol looked at each other, and they both saw a trace of worry in each other's eyes. How many people did you send out to deal with this flying dragon? What means does this flying dragon have to attack? Can we play a role? Yunfan did not continue the heavy topic and asked directly. We sent more than 200 7th level warriors and more than a dozen 7th level dark mages from the dark dungeon and have fought with this flying dragon once. The body of this flying dragon is very hard. It can spray corrosive acidic dragon breath and can also spray out fire that looks like it is mixed with magma. So it seems that this flying dragon should belong to the poison and fire system. Yunfan nodded thoughtfully. If it is an ordinary system, it is easier to deal with. The poison system. But the commander of the army Carol frowned. He didn't want to let these elite soldiers under his command die. We used magic and bows to attack him from a distance. During this period, we injured more than 26th level archers, but we also succeeded in injuring him. Now he is hiding in a swamp to recover. If you join us, we are absolutely sure that we can kill him. Andy answered confidently after Carl expressed his concerns. After that, Yunfan and Carl did not speak again. On the way, dark elves continued to gather. When they finally arrived at the center of a city, the dark elves, that originally had only dozens of them, had become about 300. These people were the ones that Andy had originally said to go to attack the flying dragon. It seems that Lord Dante has already thought about it. Yunfan suddenly said in a deep voice when he saw the dark elves gathering. Andy was straightforward. After nodding with a smile, several male dark elves in the distance took out some wooden boxes from their own space rings, lifted the cloth covering the car, revealing purple crystals and some jewels. Everyone present couldn't help but brighten their eyes. They silently looked at the rewards and secretly calculated that the crystals in the boxes were definitely worth tens of millions of gold coins. The other party was really generous. I didn't expect these dark elves to be so wealthy, Yunfan thought secretly. Yunfan paid attention to Andy's reaction. From Andy's eyes, Yunfan vaguely sensed a trace of contempt. After a long period of practice, Ji Yunfan's sixth sense became more powerful, and even his feelings became more mysterious. Some very subtle things Ji Yunfan could also magically feel. Just like the fleeting expression in Andy's eyes just now, Ji Yunfan didn't even need to look at it deliberately. He could grasp the other party's meaning and thoughts unintentionally. With a move in his heart, Ji Yunfan and Carl exchanged glances with each other and directly put away the things in the box, silently thinking about the meaning of Andy's eyes just now, and his heart immediately became more cautious and vigilant, and he was secretly calculating some things. This dark elf definitely didn't have any good intentions. Well, since we have received your benefit, we will definitely try our best to help you. What are you going to do? Carl raised his head and said to Andy beside him. Our race does not have the kind of warriors who can carry the front. We have more archers and magicians. I want your warriors to take the lead in a while, and then our dark elves will use archers and magic to attack from behind. Andy said with a smile. Before Carl could say anything, Ji Yunfan shook his head decisively and refused. No, flying dragons are different from other ordinary monsters. Our people will die if they take the lead. If you insist on doing this, I would rather return the things to you. If these soldiers under his command take the lead, there will be an unknownly dangerous flying dragon in front, and the dark elves with bad intentions behind. In this way, facing danger, he will be in a state of being attacked from both sides, which is simply handing his life over to the other side. Girl, you are a wise person, and I'm not a fool, Ji Yunfan said directly. Even if Ji Yunfan hadn't discovered Andy's ulterior motives, he would never agree to this proposal. Moreover, Ji Yunfan had already noticed the other party's little thoughts, so he would naturally not allow this situation to occur. As soon as Ji Yunfan said this refusal, Andy's smiling face sank. Chapter 444, Scam. Andy said to Ji Yunfan angrily, someone has to take the lead. Do you want to let us, the fragile tribesmen, go to die? Don't worry, it's just cannon fodder to die. Leave it to me. As long as you are responsible for leading the black dragon out of the swamp, I will deal with the cannon fodder of the meat shield. That should be fine, right? Ji Yunfan's face was slightly raised, and he muttered to himself, you are not a fool, and neither am I, if you want my men to be free cannon fodder. Deputy Commander Dante, how true do you think the Dark Elf's words are? Carl asked. It's hard to tell whether it's true or not. There have always been rumors on the continent that Dark Elves are good at scheming, but what he said is very clear, so there should be some truth in it. In that case, what are your plans? Find a way to explore the strength of this dark dungeon first. The idea is very good, but it is indeed very difficult to operate. It is indeed very difficult for others, but it is not the case for me. I wonder if the Legion commander remembers my profession. Hey, Dark Magician, no wonder you agreed to him. It seems that these Dark Elves have lost both the wife and the army. When Ji Yunfan and his team appeared, Andy had already felt that Ji Yunfan and his team were extraordinary. She planned to use the strength of the flying dragon to test their true strength. If their strength is far from her own, she would capture Ji Yunfan and his team and make them her slaves. Andy led everyone out of the dark dungeon and headed towards the so-called flying dragon. The flying dragon is in front. Didn't you say that everything is up to you? Andy stopped at a valley and said to Ji Yunfan. Ji Yunfan carefully looked at the whole valley and found that there was nothing strange about it. He nodded slightly and chanted a magic spell. Skeleton warriors, zombies, dark knights, dark creatures appeared out of thin air. Of course, Ji Yunfan did not directly summon the alloy skeleton warriors he forged. So you are a dark necromancer. Andy nodded slightly, but looked at Ji Yunfan with some contempt. Dark necromancers were indeed very famous for thousands of years, but later many magics were lost. In Andy's opinion, dark necromancers would never reach the saint level. Ji Yunfan didn't care about Andy's gaze, and asked, how about it? Should these dark creatures be able to stop the flying dragon for a while? Okay, wait for me to make arrangements. Let my archers and magicians prepare, and when the dragon is led out of the valley, you will immediately push the dark creatures up. We will attack from a distance together, and don't give the flying dragon any chance to get close, otherwise it will be very troublesome later. Andy nodded in agreement and then retreated to the side of the dark elves, watching the movements of Yunfan and others with his eyes while muttering in a very low voice. "It seems that they are not confident in us," Carl said in a voice that only he and Yunfan could hear. "They are not confident in us, so how can we be confident in them? I'm afraid they are whispering about how to target us," Yunfan said with a slight smile. "In that case, why did you agree to him? Come and hunt the flying dragon. We just arrived in the underground world and know almost nothing about it. If we turn against them directly, it will not benefit us at all. They want to test our strength, and we are also testing their strength." At this time, Yunfan's shadow demon also played a role. Although the shadow demon was suppressed very badly in the underground world, it could still observe the situation within 100 meters. After concentrating, Yunfan clearly heard the content of Andy's speech. What Yunfan didn't expect was that when they were discussing the details of how to deal with them, the so-called flying dragon was actually in the same group with them. He couldn't help but sneer secretly. "Deputy Commander Dante, what's wrong with you?" Seeing Yunfan suddenly showing a sneer, Carl couldn't help asking. "Do you know what they are discussing?" Yunfan said in a flat tone. "Why don't you know?" Carl asked curiously. "I heard a little bit. From their conversation, I figured out one thing. The so-called flying dragon is actually in the same group with them. It is their guardian beast. They led us here to use the power of the guardian beast flying dragon to destroy us." Yunfan said. "What? Are you saying that they are in the same group with the flying dragon?" Cole was a little surprised. I just don't know whether he was surprised that Yunfan could get the news from the other party, or because the other party was surprised that the flying dragon was in the same group. "Are you sure they are really in the same group?" Carl asked solemnly, which was rare. "I'm absolutely sure. This is really a bit troublesome. Although they know nothing about our strength, we also know nothing about the methods of these dark elves. If a big battle really breaks out, it's easy for the two of us to leave, but the others." Carl couldn't help but frowned. Waving his hand to call his men over, Yunfan whispered some instructions to his men. After hearing Yunfan's news, those subordinates were shocked, but then they reacted and listened to Yunfan's words calmly. Then they left to instruct other subordinates to act according to Yunfan's instructions. Seeing that Yunfan had arranged everything properly, Carol breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Yunfan with some surprise. He didn't expect Yunfan to be so thoughtful. "Mr. Corps Commander, why are you looking at me like this?" Yunfan asked a little embarrassedly. "You are really a military talent. If it weren't for the order from His Majesty, I really don't want to let you go. But don't worry, I will always keep the position of Deputy Corps Commander for you," Carol said solemnly. "What? Did His Majesty give any order?" Yunfan asked blankly after hearing Carol's words. "It seems that you haven't received the news yet, and I can't reveal this matter to you in advance," Carol said with a mysterious smile. "That should be a good thing for me," Yunfan responded with a smile. "To be honest, sometimes I really doubt how old you are. You feel like an old fox," Carl said. Chapter 445. "Thank you for the compliment, Commander. Only old foxes can live longer," Yunfan said with a smile. "You kid." A dark elf was scattered in the valley, singing a clear ballad as she walked. From a distance, her figure was well proportioned, her black light armor was smooth and shiny, her back was smooth and charming, and her whole body was full of a strange beauty. The clear singing voice sang from her mouth, which made Yunfan a little moved. What a powerful and charming voice. In the peaceful valley, a strong wind suddenly blew in the center, forming a huge vortex, which pulled the surrounding sand and gravel into it. The dark elf girl seemed to be frightened, and hurriedly dodged in a panic, avoiding the pulling force of the vortex. The wind vortex, which was originally in the center, slowly changed its position and quickly moved towards the girl. Just when it was about to reach the girl, a huge crashing sound came from the whirlpool, and a green dragon head suddenly poked out from the strong wind. Its dark eyes were like green lights. After its back and sharp claws were revealed, its body was more than 10 meters long and stretched to the back of the swamp. It was very large, which surprised Yunfan. "Dark elf girl, are you ready to play with me? Don't run." After the dragon came out, it opened its mouth and made lewd teasing sounds, swinging its huge body and chasing the dark elf. Although this guy was acting, it was too real. It seemed that this guy was really a lewd dragon. Yunfan cursed in his heart and gave an order. He had just summoned the dark creature and slowly walked out from behind the surrounding cover. His eyes were aimed at the dark elves behind him, intending to count the dragon and the dark elves together. Do you really think that I'm so easy to deceive and bully? Don't go. The flying dragon laughed obscenely, and its body of more than 10 meters flew up from the valley, causing the grass and trees in the valley to fly and making a rumbling sound. The dark elf girl, with a panicked look on her face, ran desperately to where Yunfan and others were, her body rippling with charming waves, her straight legs strong and powerful, her exquisite and beautiful body swaying in the wind, and there was another kind of charm. Yunfan watched everything with interest. He wanted to see what these dark elves were planning. They all pretended to be pretty good. When the dark elf girl finally came to the area where Yunfan and others were, Yunfan sneered and gave orders to many creatures around him. The skeleton warrior suddenly came out of the cover and rushed towards the obscene flying dragon. At the same time, Yunfan called out, and some of the soldiers he led used bows and arrows to shoot, and some threw sharp javelins and spears, shooting at the flying dragon that had just flown high into the sky. What? Yunfan led his men to attack first, which was beyond the expectations of the dark elves, especially the elven woman who led the attack, whose face became very ugly. Damn it, you humble races, what exactly do you want to do? A dark elf roared with a ferocious face. This is different from what we said at the beginning. The flying dragon not far away also became very irritable and spurted out a flame, which seemed to be mixed with magma and looked amazingly powerful. Retreat. Yunfan shouted, and the soldiers quickly hid behind. A flame sprayed at the place just now, instantly causing the ground to burn. Various spears, javelins, and bows and arrows fell on the hard body of the flying dragon and had no effect at all. Those attacks aimed at the flying dragon's neck, eyes, and head were all corroded by the flying dragon's spray and fell to the other side. The flying dragon's huge body emptied over and flew over the dark creatures summoned by Yunfan. The giant dragon claw pressed down suddenly, crushing the ordinary skeleton warriors into pieces. The zombies were also touched by the dragon claws, and their bodies were also shattered. The final fate of those dark creatures with very low ranks was just to be cannon fodder. The remaining dark knights could well block the direction of the flying dragon. The strength of the flying dragon was also within Yunfan's expectations. Seeing the dark creatures disappear in groups under the attack of the flying dragon, Yunfan did not seem to be heartbroken. With his current strength, he could summon as many dark creatures as he wanted. You humans on the ground must give me an explanation today, otherwise I will never let you go. The leading dark elf woman shouted angrily, as if she wanted to express her unhappiness. You also want us to give you an explanation. Aren't you too ridiculous? Do you think I don't know what you are thinking? Yunfan sneered. What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? The leading dark elf woman was suddenly startled at first, and then hurriedly denied it. Do you really think we don't know the identity of this flying dragon? Isn't it your guardian magic beast? Yunfan said bluntly. Damn it, who are you, and how do you know this news? Are you spies sent by other dungeons? The leading dark elf woman asked with a ferocious face. This matter was beyond her expectations. Yunfan's words made her feel inexplicably chilled. It must be like this. You are not humans on the ground at all, but humans from a certain dungeon, right? Forget it. I don't care whether you are from the dungeon or on the ground. Anyone who knows the secret of our dark dungeon must die. After the leading dark elf woman finished speaking, the dark elves' attacks continued to appear. The magic archers behind began to shoot arrows with various magical attributes. Some arrows reached the side of the flying dragon. As long as they touch something, they would explode immediately, causing a huge movement and making the scene even more chaotic. What on earth do you want to do? I will attack you too, and all of you humble lives will die today under the wrath of my great flying dragon Bert. Flying dragon Bert roared angrily. Yunfan had made plans at the beginning and did not give these flying dragons and dark elves any chance to get close. Now the three parties are in a triangle position, and they may be attacked by each other if they are not careful. Yunfan is going to use the flying dragon to deal with these dark elves. Under the attack of various magic arrows and explosive arrows, the flying dragon continued to fly forward, but it didn't know what to do, and the dragon claws churned up. Destroy the dark creatures summoned by Yunfan as much as possible. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446, Imitation Dark Bow. At Andy's command, the Dark Elves all quickly dodged backwards after launching the attack, trying to get behind Yunfan and his men, and surround Yunfan and his men together with a flying dragon. Unfortunately, Yunfan had already given the order, and before the Dark Elves could take action, all his men gave up the means of attacking the Black Dragon, and fled back without hesitation, one step faster than the Dark Elves and directly added the Dark Elves in the middle. Attack without distinction. Yunfan shouted immediately, after he came to a small valley not far behind. This is a cone-shaped valley, and it is very difficult to attack from the front. The soldiers under Yunfan instantly stood in a row to seal the valley and block the Dark Elves who tried to return. Yunfan just overheard the Dark Elves' speech and knew that the Dark Elves had already set up an ambush around this valley. They planned to block Yunfan and his men's way here in a while and use the strength of the flying dragon to directly surround and kill Yunfan, Karl and his soldiers. The Dark Elves had a plan. If she really used it like this, Yunfan and his men would probably suffer a lot of losses. Fortunately, Yunfan was careful and released the shadow demon. He heard all the poisonous plans, which made his men act faster. Before the Dark Elves could react, they rushed to this good-like valley in advance. What do you mean? The leader of the Dark Elves roared with anger. Nothing. I found that this flying dragon is too difficult to deal with. The business we started is cancelled, and we don't plan to continue. When you kill the flying dragon later, I will definitely return the amethyst to you, and I can also compensate you for your damage. I'm really sorry. Yunfan shrugged his shoulders and pretended to be very sincere. Andy never thought that at this most critical moment, Yunfan would set her up, and it seemed that the other party already knew all his plans. This made him a little unsure whether there was a traitor among his men. Although Yunfan apologized sincerely, anyone could see that he had no good intentions. How could Andy not see it? Humble and cowardly life welcomed the wrath of Bert. Flying dragon Bert roared, and a thick acidic dragon breath sprayed out from his mouth. Several Dark Elves were unable to dodge and howled miserably after being covered by the dragon breath. Master Felong, please show mercy. We are all your most loyal servants. Fight him, bastard. A male Dark Elf shouted angrily, and the longbow in his hand suddenly pulled towards Yunfan. What Yunfan hadn't expected was that the longbow in the hand of the male Dark Elf turned blood red in an instant. The bloody stripes spread along the male Dark Elf's hand to his whole body. As the bloody stripes spread, the bloody longbow began to swell in an instant. The flesh and blood of the Dark Elf was swallowed by the bow and arrow in an instant, and his body quickly became thinner and became like a skeleton. Damn it. Zika, what are you doing? Stop it quickly. Andy shouted loudly. At the same time, his expression was a little flustered, as if he had encountered something terrible. For the glory of the Dark Elves, these bastards must die. The male Dark Elf stared at Yunfan and others and roared. The breath of life poured into the strange bow and arrow, as if it was not worth it. The bow and arrow bloomed with a faint black glow, which looked a little evil and weird. What the hell is that? Why does it look so evil? Yunfan looked at the bow and arrow in amazement, showing a very curious expression. The bow and arrow absorbed the life breath of the Dark Elf, and the black breath was wrapped around the entire bow and arrow. An arrow was wrapped in ink black smoothness and magically appeared in the bow. Then, as the Dark Elf's body shrank, the breath revealed by the arrow became more and more terrifying, as if it wanted to devour everything. Even the arrogant flying dragon felt the danger at this time, and rushed over quickly and irritably, opening its mouth to spray out dragon breath. Could it be the legendary thing? It's impossible for that thing to be here. Sakadin's voice suddenly rang. Do you know what the bow and arrow is all about? Yunfan asked hurriedly. The bow of darkness is also known as the bow of god killing. Legend has it that this bow has the power to kill the main god. However, because it is extremely evil, it was sealed up by the main gods. Sakuden said excitedly, but is this thing the bow of darkness? I'm not sure, because this thing only exists in legend. At this point, Andy had no choice, because although the flying dragon was the magical beast they worshipped, in the eyes of the flying dragon, these dark elves were just servants who provided him with food. Now that the flying dragon was angered, he no longer cared about the life and death of these dark elves. If this continued, even he, the leader of the dark elves, would be killed. Others would die, but he didn't want to die, so he gritted his teeth and gave an order. Some other dark elves stood in front of the elf with the bow and cast various elven magic to help him resist the attack of the flying dragon, but in an instant, several dark elves with no way out were swallowed by the flames of the dragon's breath and turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a shrill cry sounded, and the arrow finally devoured the life breath of the dark elf, aiming at Yunfan and others and suddenly shooting out. The speed was beyond imagination, and Yunfan didn't have a chance to dodge at all. The strange arrow condensed by the black light suddenly fell in front of Yunfan and Carl, and then turned into a black gas ball halfway, completely covering Yunfan and Carl. To be honest, the two of them had a chance to escape from here, but they chose to stay. If they chose to leave, the soldiers behind him would definitely not have a chance to survive. A feeling of crisis spread in the hearts of Yunfan and Carl in an instant, and a series of crackling roars broke out from the dark light ball, mixed with the resentment of the dark elf. What exactly is this sword? Yunfan's face was very pale. Chapter 447 The Power of Curse. He felt the power in his body, being devoured bit by bit. He wanted to get rid of this devouring power, but it seemed to be useless. This feeling made him panic in his heart. If I was not sure that this bow and arrow was the dark bow just now I'm 70% sure that this bow and arrow is a replica of the dark bow. Although it is just a replica, it has reached the level of a divine weapon. Sakuden said. Don't say so much useless things. Hurry up and find a way. If this goes on, I and everyone else will die here. Yunfan said unhappily. Perhaps it was because the replica of the dark bow was too terrifying. As an 8th level peak semi-saint monster, Filong became extremely manic because he felt a crisis of death. Under the influence of this crisis, he began to spray out flames and venom aimlessly, and his body rolled from the void to the center of the dark elves. The dragon claws stirred everywhere, tearing the dark elves apart one by one. More dark elves died tragically under the attack of dragon breath. In just a few breaths, nearly 100 elves were killed, and more than half of the dark elves who came over were killed. Master Filong, have you gone crazy? We are your most loyal servants. You can't treat us like this. The remaining dark elves shouted loudly, and their voices were full of fear. Damn it, how could things develop to this point? Could it be that my decision was wrong from the beginning? Andy muttered to himself involuntarily. To be honest, he was full of despair now. If she had to choose again, he would rather not be an enemy of Yunfan and the others. It seems that your Master Filong has no intention of protecting you. Since your Master Filong wants you to die, what do you still want to do to live? Yunfan was very embarrassed in the black light, but after seeing the fate of the dark elves, he couldn't help but sneer. Have you heard a saying? Good and evil will be rewarded in the end, and now the retribution has come. Your mouth is really poisonous. You'd better think of a way quickly. If this goes on, the two of us will soon be unable to hold on. Carl said unhappily. The key is that we don't even know what this thing is now. Yunfan said with a wry smile. This thing gives me a feeling similar to a curse. Curse? Carl looked at Yunfan in confusion. Have you ever seen anyone cursed? I didn't see the curse on other people, but I was the one who was cursed. Yunfan shook his head slightly and said, you have been cursed. It seems that the curse you suffered is not that strong. Otherwise I'm afraid you would have died long ago. Carl said, how did you survive when you encountered the curse? Carl asked, see if you can still survive with that method. Yunfan's expression changed several times. The last time he was able to survive when two curses broke out at the same time, it could be said to be a miracle. The curse on him did not disappear, but he did not want to trigger the two curses again, knowing what his final outcome would be. Is it that you can't do it now? Yunfan shook his head in embarrassment. To be honest, he really didn't know how to answer the other party's question. It's possible to do it, but I'm afraid I'll get into bigger trouble. Why? Do you know how I deal with curses? Carl couldn't help, but shook his head. Curse is a very mysterious thing. It is said to be related to the law of destiny. There are very few people on the continent who can use the power of curse. The so-called curse system among dark magicians is not a real curse at all. Carl is still very curious about the real curse. I'm really curious about how you deal with the curse. You may not believe it, but I've been cursed more than once. Can curses happen in groups? You really got it right. Being able to be cursed twice and survive the curse. I really don't know what words to use to describe your luck. Luck. It's true that you can say luck. If I hadn't suffered the first curse, I might not be able to resist the second curse. What do you mean? Although the two people have been suppressed by the black power, it did not affect their communication. When I suffered the second curse, in order to resist the second curse, I forcibly triggered the first curse, and then let the two forces confront each other, and finally I was able to escape death. Are you sure you are not telling a fairy tale? Carl looked at Yunfan on the side in disbelief, almost leaving a gap for the black power. Look at me, you don't believe the way to deal with the curse. Yunfan said with a hint of ridicule. The key is that what you said is really too shocking. NND, how can you use such a method? Carl took a deep breath. The key is that I used this method to survive at that time. Who knows if I can guide the curse power in my body again? Will I be so lucky? Yunfan said with a bitter smile. In that case, it's not necessarily true. The power of the curse has always been mysterious. Even the strong ones who have entered the saint level dare not easily offend those who can use the power of the curse, because they are not sure to resist the invasion of the curse. Carl sighed softly. It's up to you to decide how to make it. I'll make the decision. Yunfan couldn't help but sigh. To be honest, this choice was the one he was most reluctant to make, but he had to make a choice, because he really had no other way to deal with the black power with the curse around him. Yunfan took a deep breath, and his eyes became very firm in the end. He firmly believed that, even if he failed to resist the power of the curse, the world tree in his body would definitely help him and prevent him from falling. While resisting those black powers, Yunfan began to communicate. The curse power lurking in his body, along with his spiritual power communication, those curse powers that had been dormant began to slowly become active, and Yunfan's eyes also turned red at this moment. An ominous aura emanated from his body. Almost everyone could feel that aura. It was ominous and filled with hatred, as if the whole world hated him. It was an indescribable feeling. Chapter 448 Raging Flying Dragon. Why is the aura of this guy so strange? Andy and his dark elves frowned, because they had already felt the same aura as their artifact on Yunfan's body. That aura made them feel fear, as if they were no longer compatible with this world. Yunfan's body turned a strange red, and then the strange black power around him was sucked into his body through his breath. Everyone present looked at Yunfan intently, and even the flying dragon in the air stopped attacking involuntarily. The power in Yunfan's body was rapidly dissipating, and the whole world seemed to have turned into a grey world. Just when Yunfan felt that he was about to fall, a green light suddenly bloomed from his mind, and the green light quickly spread to his whole body. Yunfan's body shook involuntarily, as if he was undergoing a severe test. HMPH, you are just a kid, and you want to fight against the dark bow. You are really overestimating yourself. Get ready, we can kill that kid right away. Andy said to the surviving dark elves behind him with a ferocious face. Kill this damn bastard. The dark elves were furious, and yelled with disheveled hair. They always tricked others. When have these dark elves suffered such a big loss? Because the flying dragon was stirring around, the dark elves scattered and dodged, and occasionally encountered the spray of dragon breath. Although the flying dragon was their guardian beast, the flying dragon did not care about the life and death of these dark elves. Although these dark elves were very angry, they did not dare to vent their anger on the flying dragon. Under and disorder, the remaining dark elves launched a fierce attack on Yunfan, and various bows and arrows and magic fell on Yunfan. There is no doubt that Yunfan is very powerful, but even so, he must be overwhelmed by so many attacks. However, under the collision of the strange curse arrow and the curse suffered by Yunfan himself, a strange magnetic field was generated, blocking all the attacks of the Dark Elves. Damn, what on earth is this kid? The Dark Elves have cursed Yunfan in their hearts for many times. Karl and the soldiers of the Eastern Legion prayed in their hearts, praying that Yunfan could escape danger. I didn't expect that I would put my hope on a kid now. Karl couldn't help but smile bitterly. The flying dragon seemed to sense the danger and stopped attacking randomly, but flew directly in the direction of Yunfan. Stop this flying dragon. Don't let it get close to Deputy Legion Commander Dante. Karl gave an order with a solemn expression. But now, the huge body of the flying dragon has become a live target. As the damage on the body increases, his movement speed has become a little slow, and the power of the attack is not as good as before. The Dark Elves at the back were all in a heavy mood when they saw that their guardian beasts were injured. Damn bastards, you actually hurt me, I will crush you to ashes. Andy, who had taken in all the battle situations, saw that the flying dragon had been seriously injured and hurriedly ordered the Dark Elves to protect the flying dragon. However, the remaining Dark Elves were a little hesitant because the flying dragon had left a deep impression on them. How could it be their guardian beast? It was simply a monster that did not take their faces seriously and acted recklessly. They were not sure whether the flying dragon would attack them if they went to support the flying dragon. What's going on? Don't you even listen to my orders now? Do you want to rebel? Andy said to the Dark Elves viciously. But the chief, will the flying dragon attack us? Some Dark Elves began to question this. Andy hesitated for a moment, but his expression immediately became firm. Impossible. This flying dragon is the guardian beast of our Dark Elves. How could he hurt us? Although the remaining Dark Elves were still a little hesitant, they all took out their weapons and attacked Yunfan and his soldiers. All of a sudden, all kinds of magic bows and arrows flew up, and the scene fell into extreme chaos. Just when the stalemate was at a standoff, Yunfan suddenly burst into colorful light, and then the colorful light spread to the surroundings, and almost everyone's attack was frozen at this moment. The colorful light spread to the flying dragon's body. When the colorful light dissipated, the flying dragon's huge body was revealed, and everyone found that the flying dragon was covered in blood. This is the power of the domain. Andy screamed in disbelief, as if she had encountered something that she dared not accept. Is this the power of the domain? Karl also repeated in a murmur. Yes, this is the power of the domain. I finally broke through. Yunfan said lightly, as if he was describing a very ordinary thing. 9th level Saint Domain Strongman. Damn it, how is this possible? How old are you now? How could you reach the Saint level so quickly? All the Dark Elves showed panic on their faces. The flying dragon seemed to feel the crisis of life and death, and actually abandoned everything and fled quickly. Seeing the flying dragon's escape, the Dark Elves present all showed panic. It's time, let's go out and clean up the mess. Yunfan smiled at Karl. After hearing Yunfan's order, everyone acted together. They were all experienced warriors with extraordinary insights into combat. Many of the weapons left by the Dark Elves in order to buy clothes were used well by them. Not far behind, a deep inclined pit was specially made. The warriors only used a little strength to turn the logs prepared by the Dark Elves, and the rocks tilted and rolled violently in the direction of the Dark Elves. Damn you, how did you know there was something there? I was clearly hiding well. And his face darkened when he saw the resources they left behind during the ambush being used by Yunfan's men. After the logs fell into the water, Yunfan calmly scanned the entire area and waved his hand to order his opponent to attack. Chapter 449, Evacuation of the Dark Elves. Our guardian beast has escaped. What should we do? Many Dark Elves were already at a loss. The rows of soldiers behind Yunfan had already started to pull the bowstrings, and arrows were whistling into the remaining Dark Elves. Although the Dark Elves were well prepared, they howled miserably under the arrows. After a wave of attacks, another 10 Dark Elves were shot dead, which made the Dark Elves so angry that they wanted to rush over and fight with Yunfan and his men. Chief, retreat quickly. As long as we have the Green Mountains, we will not be afraid of running out of firewood. If we all die here, there will be no one to avenge us. A dark elf shouted loudly. Shameless people on the ground, I will settle accounts with you sooner or later, bastard boy, we are not done. And he shouted loudly in a sharp voice, then turned around and ordered sadly, retreat, all retreat. Those dark elves who were not dead fled desperately under Andy's order, which showed that the level of the dark elves was very high. Andy glared at Yunfan with gritted teeth. They quickly began to evacuate under the cover of some dark elves. The reputation of the dark elves on the mainland was not very good. Now that they had offended them, they had completely torn their faces. Yunfan was of course ruthless, and shouted coldly to his soldiers, chase them and kill them all. I can't leave them a chance. Under Yunfan's order, his soldiers quickly adjusted their mentality, swarmed out with roar, and chased the remaining dark elves. Yunfan felt that the time was ripe, so he summoned all the undead skeleton warriors he had transformed from the small undead world. Everyone who saw the skeleton warriors with a strong sense of metal showed an incredible expression. Is this the legendary alloy skeleton warrior? I didn't expect that each one of them was so powerful. This is really incredible. Is this still the lowest level of the undead? The aura of each skeleton warrior is no less than that of a 7th level master. This is too incredible. Faced with these chores, I'm afraid we can only flee in defeat. Looking at these skeleton warriors who were not yet dead, everyone present was horrified, but soon they all realized a fact, that is, these skeleton warriors in front of them were too strong. Yunfan stared at the fleeing dark elves indifferently, and gave the order to chase and kill the alloy skeletons. The alloy skeleton holding the alloy bone knife was faster than lightning, passing the soldiers who were crowded with people, and went directly to the fleeing dark elf tribe. The dark elf who had just exhausted his life had used that strange bow and arrow to shoot a terrifying arrow, causing great harm to him. Yunfan was very curious about that strange dark bow. He wanted to find out what that bow and arrow was. He had wanted to get a bow and arrow for a long time, but he had never had the chance. After the dark elf who had exhausted his life died, the bow and arrow was taken away by another dark elf. Yunfan's main target was the bow and arrow, so Yunfan asked the skeleton warriors to chase those people. Flying Dragon Bertrand and his huge body quickly fled forward, making the surrounding ground rumble with a huge sound. The several dark elves around him quickly avoided him when they saw that the flying dragon was moving again. Is the dark god going to destroy his loyal servants? Even though he was seriously injured, the flying dragon was still very powerful as a semi-holy monster. Just now, everyone had seen him wreaking havoc on the dark elves. They were deeply afraid of the powerful strength of the flying dragon. Even if the soldiers under Yunfan were chasing them, they did not dare to relax, for fear that the flying dragon would stop and fight back. The flying dragon was tumbling and slowly retreating towards the valley. It seemed that he was going to do everything he could to escape back to his nest first. Yunfan saw that the flying dragon was about to escape and disappeared. He looked at the dark elves fleeing everywhere, shook his head slightly, and gave an order. Don't worry about the flying dragon. We will get rid of it when we have time later. The dark elves present were trembling uncontrollably. The only thought in their minds was to escape. In the dark dungeon, in the clan territory of the dark elves, when Yunfan and his team killed the first dark elf, in a very ancient palace, one of the nodes on the black formation broke with a bang, and the black jade card on it broke directly. This scene made the dark elves around them stunned, and they quickly put down their work. When they looked at it, before they could react, the second, third, fourth, fifth jade cards broke one by one. In the constant roar, they broke one after another, and all the dark elves present were pale. They were very familiar with these broken jade cards. This was set up by the dark elves to better control their people. Each jade card represented a dark elf. When this black jade card broke, it represented the death and fall of a dark elf. The continuous breaking of jade cards represented the fall of his people. This scene immediately shocked all the dark elves. As their faces changed, the old ancestor of the dark elves slowly opened his eyes. At the moment he opened his eyes, another roar suddenly came from the young dark elf. Damn it, who killed my grandson? The old ancestor of the dark elves roared loudly, shaking the entire dark city. That voice is the voice of the great elder. Who on earth offended the great elder? Something that can make the strong men in the Holy Land so angry is definitely not a small matter. Everyone in the dark dungeon who heard the roar was terrified. What did I just hear? Someone killed his grandson. Is this going to be exposed? You know, the Great Elder was injured in his early years and later became infertile. He had only one son, and later his son also died in the battle. Only the only grandson was left. He loved his grandson very much. More than half of them are dead. More than 300 people went out, and there are only a few dozen alive. The dark elves around could no longer bear it, and they all burst into an uproar, and many of them even showed fear. Chapter 450 Dodge. Shut up. Tell me what those dead people did. Who gave the order? Just as they were exclaiming, an old and cold voice came from the mouth of the dark elf elder, like a thunderclap, directly echoing in the hearts of all the tribesmen here, causing everyone to tremble, and one by one they fell silent, looking at their own elders nervously. It was the tribe leader, the lord who personally made the decision. Then where is the tribe leader? Let her come to see me. She was tired of dealing with those people from the ground, and Zuma went with her. At first, the tribe leader didn't let him go, but Zuma went there. A dark elf next to the dark elf elder said in a low voice, "Damn bastard. I've already told that abominable kid not to get too close to the clan leader. Why didn't he listen to me? I'm now in a critical period of changing my fate." The elder spoke slowly. His face was also very ugly. If it weren't for the fact that his life was coming to an end and he wanted to change his fate with the help of the ancient formation, he couldn't go out in person, and he would definitely go out to kill Yunfan and his men. Once he went out, his efforts would fall short, and even under the backlash, he might be able to barely survive, but his strength would be wasted. Could it be that there are saints among the humans on the ground? Those who can kill my grandson don't necessarily need to be saints. These people come from the ground. Either someone hides their cultivation, or has a treasure. Dodge. The elder's eyes flashed with a sharp light, and he shouted loudly, and saw a middle-aged dark elf walking in from outside the door. This middle-aged dark elf was handsome, with sharp edges and corners, but he was full of evil spirits. When he opened his eyes suddenly, a trace of blood appeared in his divine light, which made his momentum rise suddenly. 9 black vague resentful souls appeared around him, and they roared silently and hideously in all directions. The dark elves around him were all alert when they saw this middle-aged dark elf, revealing complicated expressions, fear, resentment and so on. Dodge, you are the guardian of my dark elf clan, and the 5th strongest in the clan, a half-saint, enough to be competent for this task. You take a few clansmen with you, and you must kill all the humans on the ground. The Great Elder also showed a complicated expression when he saw the middle-aged man, but his tone was extremely soft. Leave this matter to me, but remember to let me go after you complete this task. The middle-aged dark elf looked cold, nodded, and leaped up. The black shadows around him formed a black 3-headed dog of hell under his feet. He rode the 3-headed dog of hell, flew out of the station, floated in the air, pointed at 10 8th level dark elves, and 11 people left suddenly. Soon, 11 figures whistled out. Is it really okay for the elder to do this? If Dodge is really released, I'm afraid our underground city will be in chaos. You don't have to worry about this. The underground city will definitely not be in chaos. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the elder. The speed was so fast that it was incomparable to ordinary people walking on the earth. In the blink of an eye, these dark elves followed the place where their people died and whistled away according to the special instructions of the elves. Among these 11 people, except for the middle-aged dark elf who had reached the rank of semi-saint, the others were also 8th level, which was already the elite force of the dark elf clan. In just a quarter of an hour, the middle-aged dark elf man led his 10 dark elves and rushed out of the jungle of the mountain range and appeared at the place where the dark elves died. Looking at the shocking corpses, everyone except the middle-aged dark elf who led the group changed their expressions. The middle-aged dark elf looked cold, looking at the corpses on the ground, especially the human soldiers who were black all over, with a faint light in his eyes. Cursed power, cursed arrows. No wonder the old guy asked me to take action. It seems that the humans on this earth are not simple. He shook his body and appeared next to the corpse of a dead dark elf. He looked down and thought about it. He suddenly raised his right hand and pressed it towards the ground. He closed his eyes and chanted a strange magic spell. When he finished chanting the magic spell, he opened his eyes suddenly. If Yunfan saw it here, he would be shocked, because the other party used the most mysterious exploration magic in the dark system, which can restore the past. Interesting, it's the residual fluctuation of a semi-saint. There is actually a semi-saint among the people present, and this person's body is very strong. He is also a magic and martial artist like me. No wonder he can kill these trash. But what happened next? I just felt a very strong interference force, and I couldn't reproduce it. Could it be that this person used some weird magic armor? The middle-aged dark elf naturally didn't know that Yunfan had broken through to the saint level. Under the influence of the domain, the magic that reproduced the past had lost its effect. This person should be a genius on the continent. It must be very satisfying to be able to kill such a genius. The middle-aged dark elf's eyes showed a ferocious light, and deep in that light, there was a strong desire to fight. Master Dodge, I wonder if your magic has seen the condition of the clan leader? Don't worry, your team leader won't die for a while. But, don't worry about the rest. You each choose a direction to search, and if you find anything, send a signal immediately. The middle-aged dark elf stood up with a cold voice, and the 10 dark elves around him bowed their heads one by one. Although they were very unhappy with the middle-aged dark elf, they still dispersed and searched with all their strength. It's interesting, a semi-saint level existence on the ground. I wonder if your blood can excite me. The middle-aged dark elf showed a wicked smile at the corner of his mouth, and also chose a direction, and flew out suddenly. That bastard really thinks he is so awesome. If it weren't for his strong strength and value, the elders would have executed him long ago. Several dark elves whispered while searching. Don't you want to die? You even dare to say bad things about that demon. Another dark elf hurriedly stopped him, and the terrified expression on his face did not look fake at all. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.